with YouTube's community guidelines, but if you want to see an uncut version of this video, you can do so on patreon.com/traplawross. But if you're not interested in that, just hit the subscribe button and prepare to hear one of the craziest stories ever told. On November the 15th, 2021, 4 men from 2 different Chicago gangs teamed up to pull off an armed robbery on an armored truck, leaving a Bank of America with over $100,000 in it. This was a heist straight out of GTA 5, but things would turn deadly very quickly. In the process of robbing the truck, they would kill the driver and wound another person guarding the money, and what would follow would be an unfiltered crime spree, ultimately ending in these 2 gangs double-crossing each other and one side being killed. But as Chicago woke up to the news of this brazen robbery that left 3 people dead, many on internet forums like Reddit, familiar with the Chicago gangs that pulled off this hit, knew exactly who was responsible and were not surprised. Because this was just the latest in a years-long string of incidents associated with a gang called 800, with its prominent members being notorious for robberies, murders, and even alleged shootouts with Reddit users themselves. Today, we're going to be taking a closer look at the slimiest, snakiest, most treacherous gang in all of Chicago, 800. 800 is a gang set made up of maniac Mickey Cobras from around 61st and Cottage Grove in Woodlawn. Lil Fat, a prominent member of 800, would later explain the heritage of the gang in an interview with Truth Teller TV.
Okay, now you just said something I want to pinpoint. You said 800, okay? Exactly where is that at?
61st and Cottage Grove, we MCs.
800 has a long history in Chicago and has previously also gone by several other names like 800YM, 800DMG, Frank Block, and Diddy Grove. This gang is often referred to as the most hated as they allegedly have beef with around 20 different other gang sets. And members of 800 often consider themselves to be EBK, or Everybody Killer, meaning that they beef with more or less any gang that isn't their own, including Gangster Disciples, Black Disciples, Vice Lords, Black Peace Stones, and even other Mickey Cobras. However, despite being EBK, 800 has historically had limited alliances with some other gangs. The set had previously linked up with 051 Young Money, hence the nickname 800YM. However, this would all change when 051 Young Money clicked up with TYMB, a sworn enemy of 800. Hence the gang now hating Young Money too and claiming to be YY, as was seen prominently in 800 affiliate Boss Smooth's track 61 Dead Ops. As a result of their hatred towards members from Young Money, 800 members are often seen dropping the Y gang sign upside down as a sign of disrespect to Young Money. Now 800 carry a savage reputation, even by Southside Chicago standards, with many curious Redditors questioning just how many bodies this gang might be responsible for, with the gang themselves often being referred to by the Reddit community as crash dummies for their wild and dangerous antics, even beating the infamous O-Block, 051, 600, and No Limit in a poll by users on the biggest crash outs coming out of the city. 800 literally have beef with gangs that are surrounding their territory from every angle, being only blocks away from 63rd, TYMB, and Matt Creek. 800 has been around for a long time and originally came from the project buildings on Cottage Grove, but their current territory ranges from around 61st to 63rd, from Cottage Grove to Drexel. However, over the years, gentrification has been prominent in this area, pushing the gang away from their original block. One example of this is the huge dual Osco building that was constructed on 61st and Cottage. This development has actually taken the place of the original project building Ditty Grove that 800 the gang originated from. Therefore, nowadays, 800 members are regularly seen around the 61st and Cottage Grove areas, but they do still frequent their old turf in Drexel and the alleys of the Cottage area. Now, Chicago would become familiar with the crew of 800 in the late 2000s, when they would go to war with another local gang set called THRU City. Over the course of this gang war, 800 would take several massive losses in the streets within a short 4-year span, a devastating run that would ultimately inspire the gang to go on an extreme spree of violence of their own, with these violent back and forths gaining 800 a terrifying reputation all over Chicago. 800 took their first notable loss in the streets in 2009 when one of their members by the name of Tommy Williams was killed by a man called Kevo from a rival gang set called Mac Creek. Mac Creek is a Gangster Disciple set hailing from 62nd and Greenwood University. Now, on April 2nd, 2009, a young 800 affiliate by the name of Tommy would allegedly be standing in a group of around 7 or 8 people when an argument broke out and somebody started shooting. The Chicago Tribune would report a tragic scene as Tommy's grandmother would rush to the scene of the murder, finding the 18-year-old shot at 5 p.m. near East 61st and South Cottage Grove. The police would later reveal that Tommy was indeed a member of the wider Black Peace Stones gang, with 800 the set that we know in the modern day not yet being well established among the authorities at this point in time. Kevo, real name Kevin Watson, was identified as the shooter and later taken to trial and is now serving a whopping 60 years for the murder, with the court even being told how Kevo was a gangster disciple and had apparently killed Tommy for his affiliations to the P-Stones as part of an ongoing beef in the streets. Unfortunately, these gang wars were deeply entrenched in local neighborhoods and local schools, and in the years that followed, even more violence would play out, affecting members from 800.
Planning for your retirement? Then you can check out Webull. Webull provides all-around IRA account types, including traditional.
2 years later, 800 would lose a second member named Nate Diddy, who was shot and killed on February the 21st, 2011. Real name Roselle Phillips, Diddy would be shot while sitting in the driver's seat of a parked car in the 6100 block of South Cottage Grove Avenue, close to where Tommy had lost his life too. After his death, 800 was given several nicknames to honor their friend, including Diddy Grove, Diddy Maniac Gang or DMG, Diddy City, and the Diddy Grove Boys, DGB. He was clearly beloved by the gang and a notable member of the crew. Diddy has even been referenced in lyrics from rappers that hail from gangs like THRU, where Moose raps, "You disrespect Diddy, you'll catch 50." Allegedly, Diddy was so beloved by his gang that his death is actually what started 800 as we know it, with the group previously being referred to as Holly Grove or Mickey City. But unfortunately, 800 have lost me and Diddy once 1 year later, another 800 member would be killed in a horrific home invasion. On March 28, 2012, Terry Brown, known on the street as Old Head, was shot over 30 times and killed in a tropical summertime. ABC 7 News report that 3 men were found dead at a home in the 6300 block of South Evans. Old Head was found in the hallway of the property, while another 29-year-old man was found in the kitchen and another man in his 30s found on the back porch. This was a brutal murder scene, even more shocking by the fact that apparently this incident had allegedly all stemmed from a disagreement over a FUBU jacket. Shockingly, the shooter was apparently Old Head's own friend, Curtis Davis. A Huffington Post article from 2012 would break down how this gruesome triple homicide had played out, all stemming from the FUBU jacket. And according to the Times article, Davis swapped the FUBU jacket for some shirts and pants, with Old Head later changing his mind and demanding the jacket back. This led to Davis turning up to Old Head's apartment and shooting everybody there after one of the occupants tried to shoot back. Davis previously served 18 years of a 40-year sentence for another murder in 1989. In the end, Curtis Davis would indeed be found guilty of all 3 of these murders and sentenced to life in 2014. But despite justice playing out in the courtroom, 800 members would be devastated by the loss of one of their closest affiliates. 800 would also tribute Old Head in his song Pyro Style Part 2, where he says, "You disrespect Old Head, you get a swole head, bitch." Following this slew of tragedies, 800 begun getting more active in the streets, conducting days out the back, having infamous shootouts with people who would go on and become legends in Chicago drill music. In 2013, a beef would break out between members of 800 and a group of gangster disciples from 63rd and St. Lawrence. And Big Mike from 800 would shoot up one of the most famous members of Holmes, FHB Duck. With Big Mike wanting Duck on Twitter, saying that he had done nothing to retaliate after this shooting. 800 Boss Smooth would also join in, taunting FBG Duck and saying that they made him move after shooting up his house. However, these rape and accident act would not go unpunished in the street. It's alleged that members from St. Lawrence quickly retaliated by shooting Big Mike in his legs, resulting in him being paralyzed and having to use a wheelchair to this day. And FBG Duck would even himself reply to Boss Smooth, implying that it was the GD St. Lawrence 63rd that would directly behind being Mike. However, Boss Smooth would merge it on the video that it was a different set that shot Mike. And one popular rumor is that the shooting was actually carried out by another set called TYMB, who may well have actually been responsible for the paralyzing of Big Mike. The exact cause of this injury would indeed remain a mystery, and despite having feud with dangerous and gangs in their area, 800 would continue to dish out violence themselves. 2013 was the year that 800 began their spree of violence, leading to a savage reputation, with everything kicking off through a brutal altercation with a member of Black Mary, the same gang who killed Tommy in 2009. On September 9th, 2013, a man named Alan Ross, known in the streets as Fish from Mac Creek, was found laying in a grass patch in Washington Park at 6 a.m. Initially, it was thought he died from a gunshot to the back of his head. However, the medical exams were later determined that he had actually been dead to death. Redditors argue that Alan Ross, aka Biff, actually suffered mental disabilities, making this case even more heartbreaking and senseless. Users of the Chicago drill community Chiracology would actually cite this murder as 800's first revenge against Mac Creek. One popular rumor is that Fish was actually murdered over a mere $5 debt by an 800 member called Pyro, along with 3 other men. 800 members seemed pretty proud of killing Fish, despite him seemingly being much of a threat in the street. Boss Smooth would later wrap around some heathen gay track 61 dead and pop dots. We don't define fighting, but end up like a fish. However, the 800-member room would be responsible. THRU, just 3 years later, in late May 2016, would suffer a brutal ending in scarily similar circumstances to what happened to Fish.
Cannabis. It's not just legal in 80 states. It's a $36 billion global industry. And it's growing. Are you? Not since the start of the internet have we seen such career potential. It's time to own the moment when one has generation opportunity. Canada provides a premium cannabis education that prepares you for the future of the industry. From horticulture and chemical extraction to operations and compliance, we put you on a path to grow.
THRU, real name Kevin Larry, was in Washington Park, the very same park where Fish was killed, apparently playing dice with members from another gang called MOB when a dispute over a bet heated up. An MOB member by the name of Domo would reportedly to do Shira several times, leaving her dead. Now, before the murder, 800 and MOB were apparently on good terms, and THRU himself had even been pictured with some of their members. No suspect charged on following 2 weeks after THRU's death. However, in the shocking turn of events, the MOB would radio immediately after holding a press conference due to the fact that he was seeking $15 million in compensation from the Chicago police after being shot in the back by an officer while running away. A crazy incident which was even caught on camera. The news would actually report that while Domo was literally waiting for an Uber after his press conference, the police would pull up, arrest him for the murder of THRU. Really shouldn't have messed with the Chicago police. Domo was later sentenced to 2 years later in prison for the murder of THRU. Now, he would later appeal part of his charges with an updated projected parole date of 2066. Prominent member 800 Lil Fat would express his sadness after Domo received his monster sentence, as 800 members likes to plan on killing him in retaliation, something such which may be made much harder by him doing life in jail. THRU's murder would cause a major split between the gangs MOB and 800, sparking a war that would later see MOB members' funeral being shot up. But this was far from the only time that 100 steps there died with his Simahang gangs in their area. On September 6, 2015, 800 members would be involved in an infamous shooting at a block party. Another gang called Jaro City was said to be having a party with another gang called Taekwondo World in 800 territory. So around 1 a.m., 100 members would arguing for a fight broke out, ultimately ending in a shootout. During the crossfire, a 20-year-old woman with ties to Jaro City by the name of Booby would end up being shot, later dying in hospital. Booby was apparently the girlfriend of 600-pounder Lil Lou, who also died in 2015. Now, these two areas had a pretty historic and serious beef, and right down from 600 would brutally mock her death on Twitter. People on Reddit would speculate on the circumstance surrounding her death, suggesting that she had indeed been killed by 800 members in the crossfire of that shootout. Fast forward to 2018, and 800 went with pretty much all of the blocks surrounding them. Even their alliance with 051 Young Money would collapse after 051 linked up with TYMB, ending the alliance between 800 and Young Money. 800 would have the largest grudge against one gang in particular, MOB. THRU was so clearly beloved by the divided hood, even being more alive in his music. One example being Boss Smooth's Pyro-style series of songs, all surviving gang members constantly using the phrase Pyro. So, 800 members would reportedly be looking for their revenge on rivals from MOB, with this grudge making the gang crime suspects if one hardcore goes to most shootings. On the 9th of October 2018, MOB Dusky, rap name Dusky the Man, was murdered, allegedly, by 600 members. Following the day, MOB was member of case and member by the name of the Waldo. With intense speculation from the Chiracology subreddit that this was indeed a revenge killing. MOB felt at this point that they had avenged their fallen brother. However, Dusky's funeral was set to be held on October the 22nd. This is when the funeral tragically shot up new and spirit we automatic marrow for Russell's, leaving 6 people shot with one being the most serious. One of these men was shot in the head, and this person turned out Wooski, an infamous gangster disciple from St. Lawrence and Eberhard Avenue. Many rumors spread after the shooting, debating exactly who could have been responsible. Wooski and MOB and the leadings from 6th to 3rd in St. Lawrence had a lot of enemies in Chicago. Many have theorized that the shooters were actually O-Block and or 600 members who would shoot up the funeral as revenge for Waldo, with King Von for O-Block himself dropping numerous strong for the funeral shooting like Grand President where he residents shoot the shooting Wooski rapping, I've been killing stuff for too long, it's like I'm a veteran who was shot, now he taking medicine, but anyway, GDK. Or on the song Back Again, where he raps that he might slide to funerals and shoot up everybody out inside. However, many believe it was at least 800 might have been behind the funeral shooting, and much like O-Block's rappers, 800 members would leave many clues in their music relating to this shooting. 800 Fats would rap into songs do some. You know I'm going to be rap upon them having look at Wookiees by slip to the funeral to a movie. And on the track Head Tap, Fats was also rap up the Glock with Head Tap, now he looking wooski slow. However, Lil Fats may not have been involved in the actual shooting, as police recordings from the day of the incident apparently labeled the alleged shooters as having short dreads, and other 800 members could well match the description, as has been theorized on Reddit. Regardless, it seems 100 was celebrating the shooting that had happened, and shooting up this funeral is already an insane thing to do, but as dark and violent as the 800's history is, nobody could have predicted the rampage to them of their memories carried out in 2021 when just one dark day, 4 people were shot, 3 people were killed, and the streets of Chicago were left terrified.
With all the success of Proper 12, people say it's going to me head. But I'm still the same all of them for little doing jokes out rich with.
Lil Twan, real name Antoine Montgomery, is a known shooter from 800, but it's not just the ops that should be afraid of Lil Twan, but the cock too. He's got the tattoo to reading CDTK, or Chicago Police Department killer, on his left cheek, something that Redditors think may well influence a judge when he ultimately ends up getting caught. There are multiple examples of Lil Twan showcasing his violent behavior, such as his Instagram live session, where he sees his gun and taunting his ops on the world and saying, "Come put that switch on."
Hey, look, come put that switch on me. Look, they in the comments.
In the same life, she tells Lil Zay he will be leaving the here dancing down town and go to Glen Hill.
Look, I'm Frank, look, I'm DT right now.
So ain't just go back out there.
I'm DT right now. Look, I'm DT right now.
What are you talking about, bro?
I'm Frank on my DT also come that way. Now you go. Bring on that way right now like get up with you before.
But to make things worse, Lil Tay was also known for going live in enemies' turfs, showing guns, and looking for ops. His chilling final live fire recorded on 800 blocks of the short arrested and he was gun beat downtown. Now, Lil Twan from 800 is a terrifying gangster and known for sliding with another certified demon from 800 by the name of Lil Fats. DeAndre Benninger was Lil Fats, else Kenny from Exact Block 800 died on its 31st to Cotto Grove.
Motherfuckers already been knowing me since I was a shorty type of shit. Like, my face was supposed to rap, I don't even rap anymore.
So that's how I think he was easy position at the YouTube. That's how people knew who you was so fast.
No, I can't say that because like this was already been in play. Like motherfuckers already testing me rap. I'm look as fast I want to rap type shit.
But it wasn't until the death of Pyro in 2016 that Fats begun getting more brutal in the streets. Fats would reference how Pyro's death affected him on his song Eating Up, rapping that when Pyro died, it had him tweaking. And on the track Head Tap, he raps, "Meant Pyro name, now he dead, better claim your bro." There are many examples of Fats acting brash, crazy, and doing the unthinkable online, such as when Fats approached Taekwondo World members all by himself, dissing Tuka and daring their states for Pyro. He would then turn the camera and can be heard slapping D-Money. In a similar altercation, he approached members from THF in the courthouse and dissed their dead friends to their face, clearly trying to antagonize them. Over Driller even shows posts saying he was the best fat, even though the gangs have beef.
800 Fats gang, no. Rahim, yeah.
And much like Lil Twan, Fats appears to have zero respect for the Chicago Police Department, having even recorded himself driving off on the police with guns, and Redditors circulate pictures of him in police chases.
Stop out for a minute, right?
Stop out! Go! Stop going! Put it in. Stick my
Go!
In fact, Redditors have been speculated on his Fat being 5X or having killed 5 people, something that Fat seemingly admits himself when he was on IG Live with Lil Don from Pocket Town.
But okay then. Don't ask me that. No. You. I'm talking about you. What I do to people? No. What you did once before on Pyro? How many funerals did it's been on Pyro? Stop that. You better slow down, baby boy. Hey, as though you know they talk before. You can say that talk before because we want to talk about. You better see the road, baby boy.
One of these bodies allegedly was 051 Montana's sister, a man who Fats had even been pictured with. Now, it would appear that Lil Fats has no regard for broadcasting his criminality online, regularly showing off the world some sample people like actual murder weapons on his Instagram story. And Lil Fats has been seen numerous times lurking in his ops blocks, armed with high-powered weapons. Fats would even brag about robbing a diamond chain from a handicapped man and openly admitting to being prolific in chain snatcher on his smooth style. Fats is also known for going live purposely to share his location and seeing if his ops pull up. In 2020, Fats would get his first alleged body, a man named THRU from Murder Town. Murder Town, or MTGO 39, located in the Wentworth from 39th and Princeton to 39th and Wentworth. On January the 2nd, Fats and Lil Twin were actually set to have a meetup trading weapons with Murder Town members. THRU was present at the meetup and was said to have traded guns with Fats. However, 800 would claim that he was acting weird during the trade. Fats and Lil Twin would allegedly shoot THRU to death and steal his gun, with theories circulating on Reddit that THRU was in fact killed by Lil Twin and Fats together, as well as other rumours that THRU had actually been Murder Town's top killer with 2 bodies, 12 big on 757 at the time of his murder. Fats would even mention the murder in his song Main Slime, rapping, "Curry died, that back door open." After his death, 800 members would even post clips online rapping lyrics that appear to reference this incident. And just 2 months after the murder, Fats and 800 members would allegedly kill again in an almost identical situation.
You came looking from the lower here, and you found gold. Modelo order.
On the 10th of March 2020, members from 800 were planning to do a gun trade again, this time with the face-swap 069 number called Bando Hothead. The trade would go through as planned, but 800 still chose to kill Bando Hothead whilst he wasn't looking, shooting him in the head, groin and back, leaving him dead at just 17 years old. And the shocking image of the aftermath of this killing was even posted to Reddit, with police officers seeming to smile at the Bando corpse. But to make matters worse, 800 members would pose with Bando Hothead's guns very soon after the murder, and 800 members even showed off the weapon in the music video for Lil Twin's track 800 Fats Home. G Gotti from 800 would go even further, allegedly posing with Bando Hothead's gun and showing the blood stains still on it. Fats himself would mention the murder in his music, like on the track Smooth Style, where he raps "Hothead in the air, I smell it." Off the back of these incidents, 800 have become infamous for turning on people. Redditors would even troll Fats, jokingly asking if he wants to trade guns, with Fats actually posting that, saying that everybody is too scared to trade guns with them now. Due to these murders, 800 now have a reputation for backdooring people or being snakes. The topic itself is even becoming a running joke on Reddit, with people posting DMs that they got from people asking to trade guns with the word backdoor in their handle. It would seem that 800 were on a mission to cut ties and betray anyone, even the very few gang sets that were still cordial with them. And since Bando's murder, a war had started between 800 and 069 Facewash, with 069 members seen riding around 800's hood looking for targets.
Hey, you a snake? Somebody tell the 800 them I'm out here.
Fats would continue moving wild in the streets until later in 2020, when 800 would take a huge loss yet again, with this one being the death of their greatest talent and biggest star. On the 11th of October 2020, Boss Smooth, real name Jeremiah McCoy, was sitting in the passenger seat of a car. The car had pulled up to the Shell petrol station at the 8600 block of South State Street. This is an area that seems to be a shocking hotspot for gangland murders, as was also seen in 2023 with CCTV cameras capturing a similar shooting. But on this day, in 2020, a blue sedan would pull up next to Boss Smooth, opening fire, with the passengers of that car shooting him over 30 times with Draco machine guns. Boss Smooth would suffer multiple headshots, ultimately being pronounced dead in hospital. As mentioned before, Boss Smooth had released several songs and was easily the most talented and successful rapper from 800. However, his catalogue also included many disses of ops and entire gangs, like his hugely disrespectful track 61 Dead Ops. However, Boss Smooth may well have made himself an even bigger target in 2020 when he dissed Curio, referencing the whole gun trade situation. Rapping in his track How I'm Coming remix, supposed to have been a trend for a trade, he acting weird, trying to play, he effed around and got played. Fats can also be seen in that video, which had lyrics that stated, "You better not pull up on Lil Fats, if you do come correct, one slip, you ain't coming back." Boss Smooth and Fats were clearly very close, and in the aftermath of the murder, many rumors circulated as to who it was that might have killed Boss Smooth, with many people believing that it was either Murder Town or Faceworld 069. During a live session with 800 Lil Twin and Casey Money from 069, it was revealed who might have actually been behind the murder, as Lil Twin would admit after arguing with Casey KC Money, a rapper from 069, that it was actually Mix Mob.
What you think happened to Smooth, bro? Just stupid, bro. Y'all ain't had nothing to do with that. Ain't no killing without killing, bro. Pyro, y'all ain't had nothing to do with that. So y'all saying who the f killed them then, bro? Who killed them then, bro? So you claiming who killed them then, bro? I ain't claiming it, bro. I'm not shit to do with Smooth. Don't get on loud, man. Don't get on loud. Goofy, bro. Don't get on here flying like y'all killed for Smooth. Pyro, y'all ain't do shit to Smooth. Bro, I'm not trying to talk about no dead, no bodies, none of that, bro. It's all type of people watching. On Pyro, Mix Mob killed Smooth. On Diggy, you or Facer ain't have to do with that. On Pyro.
Mix Mob members were even in the chat telling KC Money to stop claiming the murder. Since his death, it was said that 800 Fats went crazy in the streets trying to get back for Boss Smooth. He had even been pictured with Boss Smooth's son, showing just how strong their relationship must have been. But interestingly, setting aside his savage history and reputation, one of Lil Fats' most shocking antics online may well have been his back and forth with an actual Redditor from r/Chiracology. This dispute saw both Fats and the Redditor dropping their locations and trying to meet up for a shootout, posting everything for the whole world to see.
Hey, we're No Compromise Gaming, your ticket to lease-to-own gaming PCs for people with zero or bad credit. So, why are we showing this guy instead of one of our delicious gaming?
A mysterious user appeared on Reddit with the handle More Slime Than Fats, making a post on Chiracology calling out Fats from 800, saying that if 800 Fats posts his location, he will pull up and have a live shootout with him. Redditors would go on to question this user's authenticity, to which the user More Slime Than Fats would double down, claiming that he is in Chicago and very serious about catching Fats. Fats himself would even catch wind of the post, sharing it to his own Instagram and asking what is wrong with these people. More Slime Than Fats would then DM a popular Chiracology user on Instagram asking him to get in touch with Fats directly and reaffirming that he would pull up to his live in person. He would claim that his beef with Fats stems from Fats stealing a gun from his younger cousin that belonged to him that he wants back. More Slime Than Fats was also very familiar with Fats' IG live antics, as he would often go live in enemy hoods attempting to draw out his ops to kill or humiliate them.
And I'm outside with my Glock on me, on Glock 21 on me, on cap grade out. And I'ma stay on the line and wait for y'all to come and all type of shit on, oh, we could do it. Be having all that secret ass smoking shit on mid grade, let me know something. On, oh, I'm right down the street, we could do it. We could do whatever on, oh. Anybody want to smoke, pull up on, oh. We could do it on Pyro.
After learning why More Slime Than Fats was after him, the real Fats actually chose to go live together with him.
What's up with it, boy? Hold on. Don't trip, hold on.
Are you more slime than me?
Hell yeah, where you at? I'm trying to pull up, shorty.
They would then agree on a meetup location, and Fats tells the Reddit user to pull up on 82nd and Drexel.
But where you trying to meet at?
Man, we can meet on 82nd and Ingleside or go on 62nd and Kembark. I'm pulling up right now, and it's merch.
With More Slime Than Fats then confirming that he will go to the meetup, but that he is going to stay on live. Fats then calls the Reddit user the police, refusing to link up. More Slime Than Fats would then call the real Fats scared before being kicked out of the live.
I said, you scared?
The pair would briefly go live again, with Fats continuing to call More Slime Than Fats the police, with the Reddit user replying, F the US Marshals, showing off a Draco.
I'm just US Marshals, see, let's do it.
This live itself would be shared to the Chiracology subreddit, with commenters being worried that someone might be about to end up dead off the back of a Reddit post. Shortly after, 800 Fats then has a change of heart, going back on live. He would patrol the area where the two had agreed to meet up, strapped with a number of guns, seemingly ready to catch this Reddit user. As this crazy and intimidating ordeal would play out for the world, other commenters on Reddit would be in disbelief. And to the surprise of everybody, More Slime Than Fats actually confirmed in the comments that he in fact pulled up, with a link to a new post showing the exact same view that 800 Fats recorded on his live, with this post leaving Redditors in disbelief once again, as commenters would say that they couldn't believe they were about to witness a drill live. More Slime Than Fats would then post even more footage of him driving around the agreed area, allegedly just 45 minutes after Fats himself had gone live there, and in the video you can see that More Slime Than Fats actually covers the exact route that 800 Fats did in his live. This is a crazy move considering the fact that 800 Fats is a certified killer. Then, a tweet by a Chicago Twitter page that shares reports from a police scanner would report that 19 shots had been fired in the area, with the report being just 0.4 miles away from 82nd and Drexel, where Fats and More Slime had actually agreed to meet and have their shootout. This was posted to the subreddit to the shock of all the Redditors who were following along like some kind of live twisted reality show, with commenters in disbelief again that Reddit had seemingly baited a real-life Chicago savage into a real-life shooting. However, another Redditor would make a post debunking the speculation and confirming that this shooting may well have been just coincidental, with More Slime Than Fats hopping online to confirm that it wasn't them shooting in the comments. But some suspect that the shooting may well really have been them and that they're just denying it on Reddit to stay out of trouble. But regardless, this is one of the craziest sagas from the Chiracology subreddit in history, where a real Chirac savage was drawn out by an internet troll looking for clout into a possible shootout scenario in front of the whole world to see. But anyway, now that you know 800 Fats' body of work, it's pretty clear to see why he has become an extreme example of a crazy Chicago killer. And just months after the More Than Slime Fats ordeal, Lil Twan and Fats would end up getting into a serious real-life situation, ultimately catching one of the most infamous and violent cases that I have ever seen from a Chicago rapper.
When data comes at you fast, come up with answers even faster. SAS Via.
This lad Scott, he came over here with delusions of grandeur and left a humble...
On November the 15th, 2021, 800 members Lil Fats and Lil Twan attempted a GTA-style heist on an armoured truck, something that has apparently become commonplace in Chicago over the recent years. These two allegedly carried out the robbery with two members from Newski Gang 079, Dewey 4, an alleged cousin of Fats, and another member called Spook. At 9 AM, Lil Fats and Lil Twan would meet up at a home in the 8700 block of South Saginaw to plan out the attack. They allegedly had said that they had a lick lined up to hit an ATM and they would be getting a lot of cash. At 10:30, they grouped with the 079 members and travelled to the Bank of America on 250 West 83rd Street. Here, they would witness a Garda armoured truck arriving to the bank, with LaShonda Harts and two male colleagues emptying ATM containers and refilling them with around $50,000 to $80,000 cash. Police would later confirm that Antoine Davis, aka Lil Twan, would jump out, attempting to grab the container, ensuing a struggle. Montgomery Jennings, aka Lil Fats, and one of the 079 members would then exit their stolen vehicle and begin to shoot at the guards. LaShonda Harts would suffer 3 gunshot wounds, later dying of her injuries. And in a tragic turn of events, it would turn out that LaShonda Harts was actually and another member called Spook. Them, and that they're just denying it on Reddit to stay out of trouble. But regardless, this is one of the craziest sagas from the Chiracology subreddit in history, where a real Chirac savage was drawn out by an internet troll looking for clout into a possible shootout scenario in front of the whole world to see. But anyway, now that you know 800 Fats' body of work, it's pretty clear to see why he has become an extreme example of a crazy Chicago killer. And just months after the More Than Slime Fats ordeal, Lil Twan and Fats would end up getting into a serious real-life situation, ultimately catching one of the most infamous and violent cases that I have ever seen from a Chicago rapper. On November the 15th, 2021, 800 members Lil Fats and Lil Twan attempted a GTA-style heist on an armoured truck, something that has apparently become commonplace in Chicago over the recent years. These two allegedly carried out the robbery with two members from Newski Gang 079, Dewey 4, an alleged cousin of Fats, and another member called Spook. At 9 AM, Lil Fats and Lil Twan would meet up at a home in the 8700 block of South City Chicago killer. And just months after the More Than Slime Fats ordeal, Lil Twan and Fats would end up getting into a serious real-life situation, ultimately catching one of the most infamous and violent cases that I have ever seen from a Chicago rapper. On November the 15th, 2021, 800 members Lil Fats and Lil Twan attempted a GTA-style heist on an armoured truck, something that has apparently become commonplace in Chicago over the recent years. These two allegedly carried out the robbery with two members from Newski Gang 079, Dewey 4, an alleged cousin of Fats, and another member called Spook. At 9 AM, Lil Fats and Lil Twan would meet up at a home in the 8700 block of South Saginaw to plan out the attack. They allegedly had said that they had a lick lined up to hit an ATM and they would be getting a lot of cash. At 10:30, they grouped with the 079 members and travelled to the Bank of America on 250 West 83rd Street. Here, they would witness a Garda armoured truck arriving to the bank, with LaShonda Harts and two male colleagues emptying ATM containers and refilling them with around $50,000 to $80,000 cash. Police would later confirm that Antoine Davis, aka Lil Twan, would jump out, attempting to grab the container, ensuing a struggle. Montgomery Jennings, aka Lil Fats, and one of the 079 members would then exit their stolen vehicle and begin to shoot at the guards. LaShonda Harts would suffer 3 gunshot wounds, later dying of her injuries. And in a tragic turn of events, it would turn out that LaShonda Hartz was actually new to this job, and she had clearly been excited to be starting this role as messages to a friend from September the 25th, 2021 were later released, where LaShonda explains just how much she was looking forward to working in her new job as an armored guard and thanking God for her blessings. Only 68 days after starting the job, the heist would take place, killing her at work. The other victim was shot once in the stomach and taken into hospital, initially in critical condition, but thankfully surviving. Police and prosecutors said that the robbery crew were actually unable to get the cash container from the guards during the attack, and they would flee the scene in a stolen Lincoln. Ultimately, they had failed the robbery in every way possible, and the bank's surveillance cameras would catch the attack and what the men were wearing. Shortly after, a witness was parked behind an SUV when he saw the stolen Lincoln pull up alongside the SUV. Lil Fats and Lil Twan got out of the Lincoln and entered the SUV driving away. 30 minutes later, Lil Fats and Lil Twan were seen on another CCTV camera entering a strip mall on the 6700 block of South Stony Island, just a 12-minute drive away from the bank. Here, they would rob the Boost mobile store, getting away with just a bag of mobile phones. Court documents would then show that Lil Fats and Lil Twan regrouped with the two 079 members at around 11:30 AM at the original location where they planned the attack on South Saginaw. One witness claims to have heard gunshots, followed by an Infiniti SUV crashing into a tree. Lil Fats and Lil Twan would then run into a nearby home, and whilst inside the home, prosecutors said that a witness would see the pair and other individuals passing around a duffel bag containing a rifle as they talked about hiding their guns. Lil Fats would later tell one of the people inside the home to call the police and tell them that somebody had been shot and killed in a car outside the house. This was all because 800 members had actually turned on the 079 members, shooting them dead in the SUV out.
Let me respawn in Rome, please. Yes, I'm gonna be rich.
Side. Dewey was even allegedly Fats' cousin and had plugged his music publicly on Instagram before, eerily calling his cousin Snake Them. Continuing his streak of backdooring people who thought they could trust 800, this time Fats had taken it further, snaking his own cousin and killing him. Shortly after this, a SWAT team was called into the area, where very quickly the pair were then arrested and charged with murder, attempted murder, and armed robbery. Investigators would find the bag of mobile phones inside the crashed vehicle, and inside the home were 5 guns, clothing, shoes, and a mask, all matching witness descriptions of the robbers who stuck up the armoured truck. The guns were also covered in gunpowder residue and matched the shell casings found at the scene of the robbery. This was a wild incident and would make the news once the media had learned about this wild heist, describing it as something out of a movie and explaining the entire event.
A crime spree spanning multiple scenes that Cook County Circuit Court Judge Charles Beach said today was like something out of a movie. 19-year-old Antoine Montgomery and 20-year-old DeAndre Jennings are charged with first-degree and attempted murder and armed robbery. Chicago police say the pair shot 2 armored car guards, one of them 47-year-old LaShonda Hartz, and then allegedly killed their own accomplices a short time later. In court this afternoon, the state's attorney said Jennings and Montgomery met that morning around 9 o'clock at a home in the 8700 block of South Saginaw to plot, saying they, quote, had a lick lined up to hit an ATM and would get a lot of cash. Around 10:30, the pair headed to the Bank of America at 250 West 83rd Street and saw a Garda armored truck pull in. LaShonda Hartz and 2 male co-workers ages 46 and 51 got out, emptying ATM containers and refilling them with between $50,000 to $80,000. Police say Antoine Montgomery jumped out and tried to grab that container, and a struggle ensued. Montgomery, Jennings, and a third offender got out of a stolen Lincoln Town car and began firing at the guards. Hartz was shot 3 times and later died at the University of Chicago Medical Center. The male guard was shot once in the stomach and was taken to the hospital in critical condition, but was later released. The encounter was caught on bank surveillance video, capturing the masked offenders and what they were wearing. About a half hour later, police say Jennings and Montgomery were seen on surveillance video entering a strip mall in the 6700 block of South Stony Island and robbing a Boost mobile store, getting away with a bag of cell phones. Court documents show then, before 11:30, the men met back up with their accomplices, 21-year-old Naquan Harper and 27-year-old George Holmes. A witness back in the 8700 block of South Saginaw, where the offenders began plotting their crime spree that morning, heard gunshots and then saw an Infiniti SUV crash into a tree. Police say Montgomery and Jennings then ran into a home. A SWAT team was called in and arrested the two. Investigators found stolen cell phones in the Infinity from that Boost Mobile store. In the home, they recovered 5 guns and clothing, shoes, and a mask, matching what witnesses say the men were wearing at the ATM shooting. Those items testing positive for gunshot residue and one of the guns matching shell casings found at the bank scene.
To conclude, when it's all said and done, both Lil Fats and Lil Twan killed 3 people and seriously injured another guard, whilst likely traumatizing anybody that they bumped into along their rampage, all to achieve nothing. They left the bank empty-handed, and the phones they stole were left inside the crashed car. Both chose to crash out and will now likely spend the rest of their lives behind bars due to this failed robbery. But to make things even worse, they chose to turn on their accomplices for seemingly no reason. 2 men who they chose to bring along to the job, with this being made even more tragic when you consider the fact that THRU was just finding his feet in music and making serious waves as a drill rapper. His most popular song would even exceed 1 million views, being released after his death, and in the video, Dewey is memorialized in the most suitable Chicago drill style there is, as a cardboard cutout surrounded by masked men with pistols and extended magazines. By choosing to embark on that robbery, Lil Fats and Lil Twan essentially ruined the lives of everyone involved and murdered an innocent woman just doing her job. And if November the 15th wasn't bad enough, the fallout following their arrest would be as explosive as the incident itself.
Hey, if your partner is being secretive with their phone, you need to do this now. Many people are unaware this simple.
Despite being a villain in the streets and a hardened Chicago gangster, in the end Lil Fats would cooperate on the murder of LaShonda Harts, claiming that Spook was the man that killed her. Fats has been criticised by many due to him cooperating despite allegedly being a hardened killer and self-proclaimed snake. Even though Spook is now dead, Fats, who is considered one of the craziest known members, is cooperating with the police and violating the so-called street code. Lil Twan, his accomplice, has even labelled him a rat from his Instagram page, as have 800's ops from Taekwon World, labelling Fats as a snitch, a snake, and a killer all in one. Fats telling on Spook is likely an attempt at an alibi to dodge himself being held responsible for the murder charge of LaShonda Harts. However, the 2 murders of Dewey 4 and Spook, as well as the armed robberies themselves, are all backed up by a mountain of evidence. With all of this meaning, it's pretty unlikely that Fats can beat these charges, whether he's informing or not. 800 Lil Twan actually took to his Instagram story 2 weeks ago, strangely claiming that the feds dropped his case as there's not enough evidence. However, this is pretty hard to believe considering how much evidence was showcased just on that news report alone. Meanwhile, Big Mike from 800 chimed in, labelling both Lil Twan and Fats as rats, and claiming that both of them are no longer in the gang 800. Whilst awaiting his trial, 800 Lil Fats has had his fair share of altercations in jail, with one even being seen in prison guard body cam footage where Lil Fats is released into his cell, where he then jumps at his cellmate, attacking him, then elbowing another prison guard in the nose.
Stop. Hey, man, watch yourself. Watch yourself. What are you doing? Watch yourself.
Handcuff.
Damn, man.
Relax. I'm not. You just tried to elbow in one of my offices, man. Relax.
You good? You got me on my nose.
Relax.
I hit my wrist, man. Relax.
Relax. We're not even applying pressure. Relax.
Look, man, my left wrist, man, on my son, man. I can't feel it. I'm not resisting, man. On my son, I can't feel my hand. My hand is burning.
You got control of your wrist. We're escorting you. Like I said, you became combative. You struck one of my officers. I need you to relax. All right?
Look, man, I saw walk slowly, man.
We are walking slow, sir, and we're taking the elevator. You're not even taking the stairs, so relax.
You got to say that file?
Hold it in the row one time, bullpen 5.
Sergeant Abrowski, star number 3307. Today's date's May 4th. It's 2:05 a.m. at the detainee.
Jimmy.
First name?
Andre.
ID number?
202-111-8091.
So you attacked the guy in the cell?
Yeah.
Why?
Because we was into it. That's why I took off running when they let me out the handcuffs.
Detainee was cleared medically by Nurse Lorenz. Detainee is awaiting new housing. This concludes interview with detainee Jennings.
I I need medical attention.
It's been reported by popular Instagram page Squid Ape that Lil Fats was beaten up in jail by one of the family members of the victims killed in the robbery. Lil Twan would also share that he was attacked by ops in the jail too, with Fats replying saying that he was paid $150 to say this, as well as other posts circulating appearing to claim that Fats was beaten up in jail himself. Unfortunately, it may be years before we find out what punishment, if any, will be dished out for this heinous heist turned murder spree. The only thing that is certain is that 3 lives were lost that day, and if the feds can prove it, Fats and Twan will likely spend the rest of their lives behind a prison door, leaving behind their families and their loved ones. It just goes to show you that, as usual, the streets are a dead end. Whether it's gangbanging or robbing, these kinds of activities can...
Searching for a reliable used hatchback? Shop the area's best selection of affordable vehicles at unbeatable prices.
Warning: this video contains themes of violence, death, and gang activity. The purpose of this video is to provide an educational account of historical events in the mainstream music industry. No disrespect is intended, and this video does not intend to glorify or glamorize the gang lifestyle. Every effort has been made to remove anything from this video that is against YouTube's community guidelines, including swearing, violence, drug use, and firearms. But if you'd like to see a fully uncut version of this video with everything I cannot show you on YouTube, then head on over to patreon.com/TraplawRoss, where you can watch all of my biggest documentaries uncut for just $2. But if you're not into that, just hit the subscribe button and enjoy the rest of the video. Thank you. As I recently covered in my video, Young Boy, Real Killer or Fake Gangster, the huge popularity of this Louisiana native has brought an unprecedented amount of attention to his hometown of Baton Rouge, the capital of the state, with fans of gangster rap becoming fascinated by his violent portrayals of the raging gang war in the city that had previously been largely invisible to those following the rap scene. Besides a few other local talents like Boosie, who unfortunately ended up losing much of his career to the notorious Louisiana prison system, generally Baton Rouge has been overlooked by mainstream followers of gangster rap in favor of cities with more famous gang cultures like Chicago and Los Angeles. As a result of numerous cases and a lengthy period restricting him to house arrest, since 2020, Young Boy has been mostly staying out of Baton Rouge after catching numerous cases in the city and in other states. So as a result, for the past few years, Louisiana's most wanted rapper is actually living a calmer family life in a luxury Utah mansion while recording tons of music throughout his house arrest. However, while Young Boy has been gone, enjoying the safety of house arrest in Utah, the gang war on the streets of Baton Rouge has continued to escalate and claim lives, with record-breaking murder rates making the city seem completely out of control in recent years, with those rates peaking in 2021 when the city experienced its deadliest year on record.
Baton Rouge has a gang problem.
Based on our conversations with our intelligence personnel, our law enforcement partners, and our Truth Initiative, we have around 8 groups or gangs that are actively, we believe, engaged in violence in the city of Baton Rouge. Made more than 3,100 felony arrests this year, 355 juveniles, and we've seized more than 1,366 firearms.
And if that wasn't bad enough, the Baton Rouge Police Department's Street Crime Unit has recently come under fire for serious claims of corruption.
Latest investigation into Baton Rouge Police, 4 officers facing charges of corruption in connection to a beating and tasing incident.
Even being accused of torturing suspects in a secret warehouse labeled the Brave Cave.
After lead investigator Scotty Hunter and the WFBI team exposed allegations of police misconduct in a secreted garage called the Brave Cave.
In short, the gangland of Baton Rouge seems like a deadly hellscape that anyone would surely escape if given the chance. Unfortunately, despite all of the money, fame, and opportunities that Young Boy's many affiliates from his NBA and 4K trade crews now have at their disposal, their deep roots in the city's violent underworld continues to make them prime targets for violent attacks. And as the years have gone by, a whole new generation of street-affiliated youngsters have come up out of Baton Rouge, hungry to prove themselves both in the streets and in the city's now buzzing rap scene. Success in the rap game could well be their ticket out of the war zone if only they're able to get out before it's too late. And sadly, one of the brightest stars to come out of the city since Young Boy, an 18-year-old aspiring rapper named THRU Bleeder, would end up losing his life right when he was about to make his breakthrough in early 2022. His tragic fate stemmed from events that took place during the deadly year of 2021, when an all-out war broke out between 2 factions, taking place in both the streets and in music. So today, we're going to take a closer look at the deadly war that's still raging in Baton Rouge today since Youngboy left the city behind. And we're going to work out why this overlooked city really is one of the most dangerous places in America to be a rapper.
Baton Rouge has a gang problem.
And while crime knows no age, the number of juveniles arrested for violent crimes is skyrocketing, leaving us with one question. How did we get here?
Police have identified the 2 people killed in yesterday's drive-by shooting near the Mall of Louisiana.
Shit, my brother, my little brother, first my big brother.
How did he die? He got killed at my birthday party.
You cannot go home to mama after you've taken an AR-15.
And we've learned that there is no simple or single answer.
Over the course of this program, we're going to take you into the streets and to the neighborhoods to figure out the root cause of what is behind all of this.
Despite contemporary rap fans' attention on Baton Rouge and its gangs, the interest in the city has largely come off the back of the enormous success of Youngboy during the late 2010s. But even before Youngboy put BR on the map, gangs had been running the streets for years, and reports of escalating gang activity and crime have placed the city amongst the most dangerous in the country all the way back to at least the 1980s. The reasons for the gang problem are numerous and complex, from the generational trauma created by a history of exceptionally cruel slavery in the state to the extreme racism, discrimination, and segregation during the Jim Crow era, which in many ways begun in Louisiana, which in modern times placed Louisiana as one of the poorest states in the country, and Baton Rouge itself being one of the poorest areas in Louisiana. Moreover, minorities, including African Americans, have significantly more people living below the poverty line compared to the city's white inhabitants, despite white people in fact being the minority within Baton Rouge. Combine this with the fact that Louisiana commonly has the highest incarceration state in the nation, which affects particularly the black population, further enabling their marginalization in the state. It's no surprise then that the deeply disenfranchised black youth in Baton Rouge have for decades turned to gangs in order to find meaning and structure in their lives. However, as mentioned, something has been different in recent years. The city has seen unprecedented murder rates that have largely been influenced by gang activity, creating a deadly cycle of reprisals that just continues to escalate.
Crime touches every corner of our city. Day or night, predators lurk among us.
And while crime knows no age, the number of juveniles arrested for violent crimes is skyrocketing, leaving us with one question. How did we get here? And we've learned that there is no simple or single answer.
Over the course of this program, we're going to take you into the streets and to the neighborhoods to figure out the root cause of what is behind all of this. And 2021 could lead to another dubious distinction. Last year, the city set a record with 117 murders. This year, 100 people have been murdered. That's just through mid-August. 10 of the victims, 17 years old or younger. In the same time period last year, 80 people were killed.
Even more alarming is the number of juveniles arrested for murder. 10 so far this year. Compare that to 5 for all of last year and 8 in 2019.
There's a lot of allegations right now, a lot of arrests that are made involving juvenile violent crime and deaths and guns. And that's the wrong thing to be happening with young children.
The WBRZ investigative unit counting nearly a dozen juveniles arrested just this year for high-profile crimes around the capital city. The ones include the ambush at a College Drive apartment complex pool that left a toddler dead. 2 teens were arrested in that case. Also this year, a shooting at the IHOP on Segan Lane. A teen among those arrested implicated in that murder. A 15-year-old charged in the carjacking of a nurse at Our Lady of the Lake. Also in July, a teen arrested for killing a dad in Zachary after they exchanged gunfire in his home. That teen was there to see his girlfriend.
You cannot go home to mama after you've taken an AR-15 and coax someone to come out at night to rob them and then shoot them and try to kill them, and then go home to your mom and eat cornflakes.
And it's in this deadly environment that a young rapper by the name of THRU entered the Baton Rouge rap scene and begun making a name for himself. THRU leader, real name Dante Dorsey, was an 18-year-old rapper who was known for his versatile style that reminded many of the city's biggest star, Youngboy. Arguably, THRU leader also showcased a similar amount of potential as a young Youngboy, making songs that delivered both highly aggressive bars, while at other times mixing rapping and singing with heartfelt stories about the rough life on the streets of Baton Rouge. Unfortunately, THRU leader's young life and his promising rap career would come to an untimely end before it had even properly begun, when he and his friend were gunned down in their hometown on the 25th of February, 2022.
Police have identified the two people killed in yesterday's drive-by shooting near the Mall of Louisiana, 18-year-old Dante Dorsey and 19-year-old Clifton Lindsay, both from Baton Rouge.
To understand the tragic story of THRU leader and how it's connected to the broader street politics of Baton Rouge that connect all the way to Youngboy and his friends, we need to go all the way back to the beginning of his young life. THRU leader hailed from the Glen Oaks neighborhood in North Baton Rouge, one of the many impoverished and crime-ridden areas in the city's north side.
Details have been released about a fatal feud in Baton Rouge's Glen Oaks neighborhood yesterday.
Person in serious condition tonight after being shot this afternoon in the Glen Oaks neighborhood.
Tonight, our team is learning more about the man facing charges after a deadly shootout in the Glen Oaks area.
This neighborhood was also home to the late rapper G Money, good friend and label mate of Youngboy's top surviving op, Fredo Bang. And these two can even be seen together in the studio in an old video from when THRU leader was barely a teenager. Also in that video is a man named Larry from a Glen Oaks-based rap collective called Jungle Music, which played an important role in the life of a young THRU leader. Despite being close to THRU leader and G Money, Larry was also seemingly a childhood friend of Youngboy's best friend and NBA co-founder THRU, with this showing just how interconnected all of the people in this story were before the war in the streets tore them apart. In 2014, when THRU leader was still just a kid, a tragic event took place that would permanently alter his life. On the 28th of March, during a birthday party in concert at the Baker Civic Center just north of Baton Rouge, a teenager named Nakadron Williams would suddenly open fire on the crowd of partying teenagers, killing 3 and wounding 1. These victims would include the big brother of THRU leader, called Munn, real name Kendall Camone Dorsey, as well as a good friend of Fredo Bang, Crazy Trey, real name DeAndre Jermaine Claiborne. During Williams' trial, it would be revealed that the 3 people killed were in fact unintended targets, while the intended target of the shooting was the 4th surviving victim who had had a confrontation with Williams shortly before the shooting. However, the shooting would still seemingly become tied to both THRU leader's neighborhood of Glen Oaks as well as Fredo Bang, as news would report how Williams, aka Scrappy, was part of a gang called Acres Farm, who were based about 5 miles north of Glen Oaks, separated by the Baton Rouge Metropolitan Airport. Rapper Lit B from Acres Farm would seemingly shout out Scrappy in a song, and witnesses would tell how Williams had also been involved in earlier related altercations leading up to this shooting, with at least one of these happening around the Glen Oaks neighborhood. Moreover, it would turn out that this concert/birthday party was actually for Fredo Bang, real name Frederick Givens, although the local news would actually misspell his name. Fredo Bang would even later open up about losing his friend Crazy Trey that night during a Vlad TV interview.
How did he die?
He got killed at my birthday party.
He got killed?
It was supposed to be my show, but they had labeled it as my birthday party.
He got killed at your birthday party?
Yeah.
You got shot?
Yeah.
The news would also mention messages that had been sent between Fredo and a girl, where the girl had allegedly revealed the identity of the shooter to him. Now, this is significant because Snapchat messages between incarcerated Williams, aka Scrappy, and another person would later be posted on Reddit, where Scrappy seemingly accuses Fredo Bang of being a snitch because he didn't delete incriminating messages from his phone about the shooting. There would also be photos posted on Reddit about paperwork that seems to list Fredo Bang as a witness in the case, although the document also states that Fredo did not identify the shooter to police. Now, for the record, Fredo Bang is definitely not snitching, and as far as I'm aware, he has kept it solid throughout his career, despite his ops constantly trying to discredit him. But regardless, Scrappy later on did several live streams from prison, during which he would diss Fredo Bang and accuse him of snitching, even going through the paperwork.
Frederick Givens on my paperwork right here. That's his name right there. You see it right there. Now, if you see right here, when it says, Givens been asked her to communicate with the police, and this is his number, 225-955-0916. They still got the same number? And it says, message has been stamped. That means he screenshotted my picture and sent it to the people. I ain't even do that.
What's his Instagram name at?
His Instagram name is on here is Fredo Bang. Right there, I'll tell you right there. Fredo_Bang. I repeat, Fredo_Bang.
Fredo would then seemingly respond to these allegations, calling them lies. In prison, Scrappy would also associate himself with Fredo Bang's enemies, such as people from BBG, including BBG Block, the brother of BBG Baby Joe, who is actually very close with Youngboy. Meanwhile, to a young THRU bleeder and his neighborhood, the death of his big brother Mun was a huge loss, and in an old video posted on Jungle Music Larry's YouTube channel shortly after Mun's death, a young THRU bleeder can be seen hanging with a large group of older guys, all gathered to pay respects to his fallen brother.
Rest in peace of mine, baby. I love you, boy. Remember that.
The death of Mun would push THRU bleeder to take music seriously, and so he and his partners would create a crew called Munway in his honor.
Bro, when our cousin died at 15, so it's like, that's why we came up with the Munway shit. That was his name, Mun.
That's why he started rapping like.
That's why he started rapping and taking that shit more harder, so we came up with the Munway shit.
As THRU bleeder got a bit older, he would begin to release music under the name Munway D, still being heavily associated with the jungle music movement from Glen Oaks. And even though he was very young, his music would from the very beginning would show a great potential for talent as well as maturity far beyond his years. However, unfortunately, it's not as easy as simply leaving the streets behind and focusing on music. And as his career begun, so too would the escalation of a deadly war between two of Baton Rouge's most deadly but lesser known gangs. Losing his brother at a young age wouldn't make THRU bleeder only motivated in pursuing music, it would also make him yearn for revenge and turn to the streets. Perhaps it was the combination of the two that would eventually lead THRU bleeder and his partners, such as his older brother Oakboy Coco, also known as Co-Bleeder.
Shit, my brother, my little brother. First, my big brother Mun, he had passed away 2014. Then my little brother just took out with their rap shit.
And his cousin, Munway Day, later known as Real Bleeder, to come up with a new name for their clique, the Bleeders, or originally THRU Bleeders, with this name apparently reflecting the struggles that they had gone through since a young age and their dedication for their movement, putting their blood into this.
We young, bro, like we the youngest, you know what I'm saying? So, just out doing petty, but it's like, we in the hood, like mind you, my other cousin, his brother, he died at 15. And our partner, he died at 14, like, so came up at 15, 14, so like, we just in front of the stove. I'm like, bitch, we gonna be THRU bleeders. I just be thinking of like, a lot of shit, because like, this should be meaning a lot. So I'm like, we're gonna be THRU bleeders, you hear me? Like, we THRU bleeders. He like, oh yeah, bitch. He f***ing with it, but like, he showed me he f***ing with it and took it more serious and changed all his Instagram name to THRU bleeder and really start rapping and going in and like, you know what I'm saying?
So
but
you gave him the name. You came up with the name.
Yeah.
In the following years, the Bleeders would form relationships with numerous other gangs, groups, and neighborhoods in Baton Rouge, such as the jungle music movement from Glen Oaks that they had started with, which nowadays is mainly still represented by Jungle Music Larry. They're also heavily clicked up with people from the nearby Zion City neighborhood, led in music by the rapper TG Commas, who is one of the hottest up-and-coming rappers in Baton Rouge right now and partnered up with the Bleeders under their Trench Business collective. Bleeders are also associated with Fredo Bang's TBG, aka Top Boy Gorilla's crew, the group that famously went to war with Youngboy and his NBA 4K Trey crews after the death of friend-turned-enemy G Money, TBG's most promising rapper. The roots of the affiliation between the Bleeders and TBG dates all the way back to the night when Fredo Bang's good friend Crazy Trey was killed together with THRU bleeder's brother. Another rapper affiliated with TBG and connected to the Bleeders, known as Hot Boy Do, is currently incarcerated on murder charges. Now, the Bleeders are also known to have beef with various gangs in Baton Rouge, but one in particular that's most prominent is their feud with a gang called the Vultures. The two gangs have been in a years-long war that's been waged both in the street and in music. The Vultures hail from the Scotlandville community located in the northeast of Baton Rouge, but their hood on the southern end of Scotlandville is more commonly known as Bankstown, which is separated from Glen Oaks and Zion City by the Interstate 110 that runs through the city. Vultures also have some well-known rappers that rep the name YKWHIF, which stands for You Know What It's Hittin' For. People like YKWIHF V and his cousin YKWHIF Car. Interestingly, V and Car actually used to be friends with THRU bleeder's fallen brother Mun before their beef with the Bleeders. Both were also seemingly part of the jungle music collective that both Mun and THRU bleeder were associated with. But Vultures are not the only gang that the Bleeders have beef with, and there's one gang in particular that represents a link between the story of THRU bleeder and Youngboy as well as his NBA/4K Trey partners. This group hails from the Sherwood Forest neighborhood and is represented by B-Way Youngie, who is Youngboy's actual little brother both sharing the same father. The gang has been known by different names, such as Goblin Gang or DHG, that stands for Dark-Hearted Goblins, or sometimes THRU. While B-Way has not officially been part of Youngboy's NBA label, he can often be seen hanging out and making music with NBA or 4K THRU members like Ben 10, BBG Baby Joe, and Big B. B-Way's beef with Bleeders stems back to at least 2019 when he and his brother were arrested in relation to a shooting that killed 17-year-old Javon Brown.
Two brothers wanted in the deadly shooting of a student walking home from school are now in custody.
Javon was allegedly associated with another gang with ties to the Bleeders called 300, not to be confused with the Chicago gang of the same name. This made B-Way an enemy of the Bleeders too.
Oh, my brother, the state English. Boy, nigga, boy. Side riding, nigga. With my ice on, man. Hop out like this. Hop out. No pistol with me. Hop out with this.
And there are also other NBA and 4K THRU members with ties to the Vultures, including Ben 10, who is said to actually have family ties with some members, as well as Herm and Big B, who both hail from Bankstown.
Bro, where we at? Where we at with it right now, man?
Bankstown, USA, you hear me? That's how we bank, you hear me?
That's what it is, bro.
Clearly, Baton Rouge is a complicated and intricate network of interconnected gangs, all of which have some kind of beef by association, which often makes it hard to determine exactly why or who might have caused the beef to kick off to begin with. So, let's take a closer look at what it was that could have truly toppled the first domino in this chain reaction of devastating murder.
Oh my god, it's a logo, I think. I think it is a logo. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
It's not exactly clear when or why the beef between the Bleeders and Vultures originally started, with some Reddit detectives telling theories of a complicated web of affiliations that led to both factions eventually picking their sides. However, what we do know is that during Baton Rouge's deadliest year of 2021, numerous killings would end up taking place that may well have a connection to these crews, eventually leading to the assassination of THRU Bleeder in the beginning of the following year.
Multiple people have been shot near the Mall of Louisiana this afternoon.
2 people are dead and 2 others are at the hospital right now getting treatment.
In the early hours of April the 23rd, 2021, a member of the Vultures called Zip, real name Aaron Batiste, had just celebrated his 29th birthday that night on the north side of Baton Rouge when he was shot by unknown assailants, later succumbing to his injuries in hospital.
Well, a man has died after an early morning shooting on Plank Road. Sheriff's deputies say Aaron Batiste was rushed to the hospital around 3 this morning and later died from his injuries.
Zip was a father of 2, and his murder left the family devastated, questioning when the senseless violence in the city was going to stop. Meanwhile, members of the Vultures would mourn the loss their way, vowing revenge in posts on social media. Later that year, the streets would heat up once again with a string of back-to-back shootings, all taking place in the month of October. On the 8th of October 2021, a man named Jamorius Ferguson, aka Gmo, was shot outside a home in East Baton Rouge when someone opened fire from a passing vehicle, injuring him seriously. Ferguson himself was reportedly not a gang member, but actually a member of the US Army, as well as a founder of several non-profits, including one that was named after him, aiming to help and support youths and young adults in Louisiana. However, Gmo was also the big brother of V, a well-known Vulture member, and another well-known Vulture member called Dubug, who can commonly be seen alongside V in his music videos. The police would later note that they didn't consider Ferguson to have been the intended target of the shooting, perhaps implying that V or Dubug may have been the intended targets. Sadly, on May the 5th, 2022, almost 7 months after the shooting, Ferguson would unfortunately succumb to his injuries and lose his life.
The 25-year-old died on May 5th from injuries he suffered from a drive-by shooting that happened last year.
Even with his passing taking place sometime later, the shooters in the gangs of Baton Rouge would not let up and continued causing havoc on the streets there. The shootings and killings around the 2 gangs had so far gathered relatively little attention, but only weeks after the shooting of Gmo in late October 2021, the war would become much more public, after the Vulture rapper YKWHIF Carr was brutally murdered in a hotel parking lot.
According to police, 23-year-old Malachi Demolin was shot multiple times and was pronounced dead at the scene.
Carr, real name Maleka Demolin, had been releasing music together with his cousin V since at least 2015. However, his life and career aspirations would be put to a hold in October 2020 when he would be charged with the second-degree murder of a man named Brandon Chapman. Chapman was also an aspiring rapper who went by the name BME Beezy, but not much else is publicly known about his connections to the streets in Baton Rouge. Fortunately for Carr, in March 2021, a grand jury would ultimately decide not to indict him. as the case was seemingly determined to have been a matter of self-defense, with Carr allegedly defending himself against Chapman, who confronted Carr being with his ex. Unfortunately, in October 2021, almost exactly a year after the death of Chapman, Carr himself would end up losing his life when he was shot in the parking lot of a Holiday Inn in a brutal assassination-style attack that, according to witnesses, sounded like he was shot with a fully automatic weapon or possibly a handgun with a switch. After Carr's death, bleeders would often diss him publicly, calling him a diamond pack due to him always rocking a diamond grill. Rumors would also circulate online that the bleeders had something to do with Carr's death, particularly after co-bleeder would rap on his song Blow for Blow with Hot Boy Do, released in November 2022, some lyrics that many believe refer to Carr's killing. The streets were hot after the killing of Carr, and only a few days later, another young man would end up losing his life. On the 28th of October, around 10:30 in the morning, a man was shot and killed on West Catalpa Street on the east side of Baton Rouge.
Well, just a few hours ago, police say they responded to a shooting on West Catalpa Drive, where they say one male victim was shot and killed.
The victim would turn out to be a man named Jamonte Davis, an aspiring rapper who went by the name Mu Gotti. Mu Gotti was an alleged member of the gang SOG, or Sleep or Grind, yet another gang allegedly affiliated with the bleeders, and his killing was considered to be a direct retaliation after the killing of Carr. At this point, NBA and 4K Trey had not yet been directly involved in the beef, but this would change on December the 2nd after Youngboy's right-hand man, Ben 10, and his cousin Marvin Batiste would end up getting shot while driving on a highway in Prairieville just southeast of Baton Rouge. The shooting, which police immediately determined to be a targeted retaliation, would leave Ben, the likely target of the shooting, wounded, but his cousin dead.
The vehicle had been shot multiple times, and inside the vehicle we located a male that had been deceased from gunshot wounds.
That man was found in the passenger side of the truck. Authorities say the driver was also taken to the hospital with gunshot wounds. He's expected to survive.
The death of Marvin was a huge loss for Ben, and to celebrate his life, Ben and other 4K Trey members like B-Way and Who Gang D would wear custom clothes to his funeral, adorned with slime green, the color of their blood set, 4K Trey. And Ben would later get a glowing chain in memory of his cousin. Many had speculated that the bleeders might be responsible for this shooting, which they would seemingly hint at a few months later as bleeder member 40 Glock U would rap on the song Gator Pack how somebody got killed, although the target was Ben. Ben would eventually reply to the dissing, saying how his cousin was not in the streets and therefore did not deserve to be killed.
Hey, my cousin was a football player. He ain't carrying that gun. You kill somebody who need to like this for real.
The war between these lesser-known gangs had now touched a prominent member of Baton Rouge's most famous rap empire. So it would be no surprise then that a major tragedy would soon follow. Right before entering 2022, Ben 10 would get into a heated argument with THRU Bleeder on Clubhouse, during which Bleeder would accuse Ben of being a fake gangster who had never shot or killed anyone.
Gangsters on my shit, you the heck. Who you ever shoot?
To which Ben would reply, sarcastically agreeing.
I ain't kill nobody. Stop talking like that, damn.
Then, on the 13th of January 2022, the Bleeders would drop perhaps their most disrespectful song and music video so far, called Pick Your Partner Up, aimed squarely at the vultures. In the song, co-Bleeder would seemingly reference again the murder of Carr, rapping how this murder shit is real and how he will switch the vultures down to see if they can really fly, with this accompanied by an ad-lib imitating the sound of a gun with a switch. Unfortunately, only a few months later, tragedy would strike on the Bleeders' side in a way that would shock even the people of Baton Rouge.
Police have identified the two people killed in yesterday's drive-by shooting near the Mall of Louisiana, 18-year-old Dante Dorsey and 19-year-old Clifton Lindsay, both from Baton Rouge,
who at this point were beginning to get used to gangland killings happening in broad daylight. On the 25th of February 2022, just after 1 p.m, authorities responded to reports of shots fired in the 6300 block of Bluebonnet Avenue near the Mall of Louisiana. They would arrive to find 4 men lying in the intersection, 2 wounded and 2 dead, along with a car riddled with bullet holes.
What we do know, there are 2 deceased here and 2 that were transported by EMS.
THRU Bleeder was later identified by his uncle as one of the deceased, and raw footage would be recorded of the aftermath of the murder, which is far too violent to show you on YouTube. The suspects in the shooting had apparently ditched their car after firing, escaping the scene in another vehicle. And just after the shooting, Baton Rouge police seemed to be already aware that the shooting had something to do with rival groups. And just like the killing of FBG Duck in Chicago a few years earlier, this was a bold shooting in the middle of the day in a part of town which was usually considered safe. The Mall of Louisiana was the biggest mall in the state and one of the most popular tourist spots in the city, this being yet another reminder of how rappers who come from the streets are rarely safe anywhere in their hometowns, even if they're able to move away from the initial war zone. Co-Bleeder would later open up about that day, saying in an interview how he felt that they had already been at the mall for too long, and how he tried to warn the others about somebody possibly setting them up.
While we in the mall, while we in that bitch, I'm telling all of them, to Lil, telling them like, son, ain't got niggas who really want to do us something, son. Like, take this serious, and we've been in it just too long.
After True Bleeder's death, his ops would immediately begin to diss him. B-Way Youngie would post a story saying "lol" with a laughing emoji, and also seemingly troll everybody by liking a tribute post to Bleeder. Ben 10 would also participate in the dissing, filming himself walking in a mall while saying,
"We cannot go out like the other boys."
And he would also post himself on Instagram listening to True Bleeder's music. Bleeder member 54 Don Dada, on the other hand, would go live on Instagram, devastated at the loss, crying, while vowing for revenge.
I'ma fuck over you, bitch.
His ops, on the other hand, would actually repost this video and ruthlessly make fun of him. NBA member Herm the Black Sheep would also seemingly reference this in a song Soul Snatcher with Big B, where his entire verse could be seen as a reference to the murder of True Bleeder. Fans would even speculate that Youngboy is actually referencing True Bleeder's killing in his song 4KT Baby, where he describes a car being shot 30 times, much like what actually happened. A few months after the death of True Bleeder, in April 2022, Debug, real name Demetrion Grimm, was arrested and charged with the murder and attempts, with an obvious motive being that he was the brother of the murdered US soldier Gmo. Debug was also allegedly a cousin and very close friend of the fallen Vulture rapper YKWHIF, and he had posted many tributes to him on social media following his death. When he was arrested, he was already facing unrelated charges for carrying illegal weapons, as well as being wanted by the police in Texas for money laundering charges. But what would ultimately tie him to the shooting was his DNA that the detectives would end up finding in the car abandoned by shooters at the scene of the crime.
Today, Demetrion Grimm was arrested and charged 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder and 1 count of illegal use of a weapon.
However, in a surprising turn of events, the police could not find enough evidence to formally charge Debug with the shooting, but they would continue to detain him while continuing the investigation. The following April, police in Houston would end up arresting 2 other men in relation to True Bleeder's murder, one named Donald Ray Graves and another Najua Jabari Harris, while they were allegedly caught while helping the smuggling of illegal immigrants. Graves is reportedly a known gang member in Baton Rouge who allegedly purchased one of the cars that was used in the drive-by that killed True Bleeder.
Graves also had a warrant out for his arrest in connection with a targeted deadly shooting near the Mall of Louisiana back in February of 2022 that left 2 teenagers dead.
Harris, on the other hand, is allegedly a known member of the Vultures, known as YKWHIF, with his profile picture on Instagram portraying him together with his fallen friend Carr. However, since these arrests, Debug has seemingly been released from jail and is living his best life, proudly labeling himself the Grim Reaper on Instagram, a play on his last name, Grimm. So, whether law enforcement will actually be able to prove who exactly was behind this gruesome drive-by still remains a big question mark, and justice still hasn't been delivered almost 2 years after these shocking events that rocked Baton Rouge. And in the meantime, the dissing has continued on both sides of the war. In the summer of 2023, Say Cheese would post their interview with Real Bleeder, where he addresses his beef with NBA. Real Bleeder and his partners would go on to claim that the videos on YouTube all about the war are cap, but also that they don't watch those videos. However, when asked if they knew the NBA guys growing up, Co-Bleeder chimes in on the conversation, declaring with a huge smile on his face that Ben 10 was his best friend growing up.
Hey, you know that Ben 10 was like my best friend, you hear me?
Damn, word.
That was my best friend.
Like growing up type?
My real best friend, my right hand man.
This trolling wouldn't go unnoticed by Ben 10 himself, who would respond a few months later in his song Right or Wrong, claiming not to know him. Elsewhere in the song, 10 would also throw shots at Real Bleeder, who had told in the same Say Cheese interview that he received $170,000 compensation after the death of his mother when he was younger, with Ben mocking him, saying he's only got money because his mother's in the ground. For now, it looks like the death of True Bleeder is yet another case in the long list of unsolved killings that highlight the out-of-control tragedy playing out on the streets of Baton Rouge, as well as being yet another example of an extremely talented rap artist who lost their life way too soon due to gang-related violence. I really hope that going forward, all the young men and women of Baton Rouge, and beyond, can stay safe, stay out the streets, and find success doing something more positive, like music. I hope you found that short story interesting. If you want to see more shorter mini documentaries about drill music and gang culture from around the world, then make sure you subscribe down below. And don't forget to leave me a comment letting me know what city's gang culture
Man, so you pretty much immune to getting in like that shit didn't really faze you. You didn't think about it.
You in big trouble. Boy, your is in big trouble. You know you in big trouble. You so I can't come to the city, you know you're in big trouble on Big Dog. Yeah. You know, I'm gonna keep my spirit for real. Don't play with me on really like that. Don't play with me on really like that.
Welcome back to another episode of Swamp Stories. For this one, we dive into one of the craziest ones I've ever covered. I know I say it before every video, but this one is actually beyond comprehension. From family betrayal, friends crossing friends, rap beef, and so much more. We follow the entire life story of easily hip-hop's biggest goon. And I promise you everything in this video will absolutely blow your mind. This one is brazy, but before we get into it, let me run the intro. The story begins in Mobile, Alabama, a place you've probably never heard of and have definitely never been to. But despite it being relatively unknown, it's actually a very historical city that should be taught in schools. And for that reason, we start off with some much needed and very important history. For those who are unfamiliar, the Atlantic slave trade was made illegal in 1808 by the United States government. This meant that slaves could no longer be imported to the country, a very monumental moment in history. But despite this great progress, many slave owners in Alabama decided to completely disregard the law. So for 52 years, illegal slave ships were still arriving to the port of Mobile. Thankfully though, in 1860, the United States government finally decided to crack down. They successfully captured the very last slave ship to ever approach US soil. And after seizing it, they took the 110 captives and dropped them off in North Mobile. They were essentially given a plot of land called Africatown, and they were told to figure it out. This is what makes it so unique and interesting. Over the next 100 years, they basically created their own community and even spoke their own language at home. And with very little outside interaction, they built their own homes, schools, restaurants, and many businesses. Yes, it was a very poor community. That's gonna do it for this episode of Swamp Stories. If you enjoyed the in and out of prison and hopping from house to house. On top of this, he was raised in real poverty and always had to fend for himself. To many of us at home, this is beyond comprehension, but to little Honeycomb, this was basically normal. This is because his friends, classmates, and families in the neighborhood were pretty much going through the same things. This is just the sad reality of growing up in Happy Hills. Well, now we focus entirely on the life of Nashawn Little Honeycomb Jones. Growing up, Nashawn had two best friends from the neighborhood who he rolled with every day. These would be Ladarius Moorer, also known as Stank, and Dedrick Thomas, also known as Day. According to people close to them, Honeycomb was always the leader of the group and was also the wildest too. He wasn't necessarily mean or aggressive, but he loved to test people's limits. And because of this, he was constantly getting in trouble at school, and he was also arrested at a very young age. Specifically, at 10 years old, he decided to break in rooms to go and ride around with go-karts with his friends. He knocked over a bunch of items and police came to arrest him within 15 minutes. But due to his age, all police could do was take him home to his parents to be disciplined. But here's the problem. Nashawn's father had recently been sentenced to 20 years in prison and his mother was in jail as well. So police had to take him to his aunt on his dad's side, which wasn't exactly the best environment. In fact, it may have been the worst possible place for him, so let me break it down. When Big Honeycomb went to prison, money in the family pretty much dried up. I mean, it wasn't like they were balling beforehand, but now it was really bad. So in order to put food on the table, Big Honeycomb decided to keep running his organization from behind bars. And in order for this to work, he elected certain family members to run everything for him on the streets. One of these family members would be his nephew, who he put in charge of keeping track of the money. This nephew is his sister's son, which is the family who adopted Nashawn when he went off to prison. So as you would imagine, keeping the money in the family and close to his son was the best option overall. But still though, trusting a poor teenager from the projects with
At Northwest Missouri State Online, your future begins day one. With over 59 online programs across business, education, nursing, technology, and undergrad, your potential is unlimited. Get started now.
thousands of dollars is always a risky move. Like, hey, I know I'm your nephew, but I gotta eat too. So it was only a matter of time before things went wrong. After just a few months, Big Honeycomb started to believe that his nephew was pocketing the money. He was pissed, feeling betrayed, and he wanted to do something about it. In his mind, even though it's his nephew, disloyalty is always unforgivable. So believe it or not, he allegedly calls up one of his goons in Mobile and tells him to put in work. Now, who is this goon, you might be wondering? Well, this would be none other than his 13-year-old son, Nashawn Little Honeycomb Jones.
You know, Pop said run it, so you gotta do it. Just do it. It's done. I really does it.
So a 13-year-old Honeycomb decides to hop off the porch for his pops, and here's how it goes. He's hanging with his friends in Happy Hills, and he somehow gets his hands on a blick. He then starts walking to his aunt's house in Plateau looking for his cousin. Because he's a leader, all his friends tag along with him with no idea what he's about to do. He then finds his cousin outside with his squad, and he decides to walk right up to him. His cousin thinks he's about to dap him up, and he has no idea what's about to go down. And in front of everyone, Honeycomb whips out and makes a wild decision. Everyone is shocked, and Honeycomb and his friends run back to Happy Hills. He assumes that his cousin is dead, and this is when reality kicks in. What in the world did I just do? Did I really just claim the life of my own cousin? And now that I did this, my aunt will probably be pissed, so where can I even sleep? And on top of all this, if I get arrested, I'll never see the light again. As a last resort, Honeycomb decides to make a run for it. So at 13 years old, he goes on the run hiding from both his aunt's family and the police. We don't know the specifics, but somehow he fends for himself for months on end. Wow, this is crazy, and I don't think I've seen anything like it. When I was 13, I was too scared to take public transportation, nonetheless survive on my own while ducking police. Oh, and I've never had my father ask me to eliminate my own cousin. So before you demonize Little Honeycomb, you have to put yourself in his shoes. Like at 13 years old, you'll literally do anything for your father. On top of this, he says that he never really wanted to do it and even regrets it to this day.
Paralyzed my own cousin, took a hit from a pop. Like, I was young then, though. Like, right now, I don't know if I still do that again. Because I still with Buzz. It was just a misunderstanding. But, I would have thought better about it. But I was young. Then my dad was telling me to run it. So, dad is telling me to run it. They're finna run it. You know how that go.
You can even see it in his face that he really regrets doing it.
Whoa, wait. You shot your cousin?
Yeah. yeah.
Like on accident?
Nah, like on purpose. Him and my dad, some shit with him and my dad, some money came up missing with my dad.
As crazy as this already is, while Honeycomb was on the run, more tragedy would strike in his family. November 1st, 2007. Little Honeycomb happens to have an older cousin in the neighborhood named Robert Lucas, also known as Slick. Well, on this afternoon, Slick and his friends happen to be hanging out in the Josephine Allen projects like any other day. They're standing around laughing and playing music in the parking lot. The commotion pisses off one of the neighbors in the projects, and she decides to call 911. She tells police that there's a group of young men hanging outside selling illicit products. So at 5 p.m. a Mobile sheriff named Paul Birch pulls up to the projects. Slick notices him rolling through, and he decides to turn around and sprint. This is because he believes the officer is there to serve a warrant on him, but that's simply not the case. Either way, his decision to run does not serve him well. When the officer notices Slick running away, he decides to get out of his car and go chase him. He chases him through the projects, and that's when Slick trips and falls on his face. Because of this, the officer catches up to him and decides to draw down. Unfortunately, the situation ends in the worst way possible. Slick gets hit twice in the back, twice in the shoulder, and twice in the chest. And sadly, he wouldn't make it after being rushed to the hospital. Obviously, it was a tragic situation, but it was also controversial. The witnesses believed that Officer Paul Birch was not justified in his actions. They all rallied to get him arrested, but nothing came of it. This is because the officer stated that Slick pointed a blick at him while he was falling, and because of this, he had to do what he had to do to survive. The sheriff and the district attorney agreed, so they both declined to charge him. The entire Happy Hills community was pissed. To them, it was a clear case of murder, and they all decided to protest. So for days on end, the community gathered together and marched the streets of Mobile. This eventually caught the attention of the FBI and the Department of Justice, so they were forced to investigate. But here we are 17 years later and no charges were ever brought to the table. And on top of this, Paul Birch is currently the elected sheriff of Mobile County.
There's a new sheriff in town. Sheriff-elect Paul Birch sworn in today and is now sheriff of Mobile County. The swearing in got underway around 4 at the Crown Hall on Dolphin Street. Sheriff-elect Birch is replacing retiring Sheriff Sam Cochran.
Honeycomb would post about Slick on Facebook, and his friends are not too happy about Paul Birch. Drama, and more drama in the life of Little Honeycomb Jones. After being on the run for numerous months, he finally decides to return home. Quickly though, right after his 14th birthday, he's arrested by Mobile County sheriffs. He was in for some potentially serious time, but thankfully the judge was lenient and only gave him 3 years. So from ages 14 to 17, he spent his every day and night in the Strickland Youth Center. Although it may sound miserable, for many youth offenders it's actually a very positive experience. Firstly, their living experience in the youth center may be better than it ever was growing up. But more importantly, as Charleston White explains it, it can provide structure and discipline that they've never had before.
But if you put them in any kind of institution, any kind of structured environment, structured program, they will flourish. They flourish in a structured environment.
But unfortunately, after they're done with their sentence, they're often thrown right back to the environment that got them there. And this often entails running with the same friends that they used to run with. For Little Honeycomb, he was thrown right back into chaos. With both parents locked up and an aunt who hates him for paralyzing her son, you can only imagine. So after being released at 17, he moved in with his grandparents in the heart of Happy Hills. And as you would expect, he went right back to hanging with his day one friends in the hood. As kids, Honeycomb was always the bad one in the group, but now that they were grown, they were all on the same timing. With young Honeycomb, Det, and Stank walking the streets, you never knew what could go down. And sometimes bad situations could occur at any time and for any reason. That takes us to December 12th, 2011. It's a chilly winter dawn and Honeycomb and Det are walking through the neighborhood with nothing to do. So at 5:45 they decide to head to the community rec center. As they're walking down Center Street, Det notices a random man standing by his car. So for whatever reason, he walks up to the man and sparks a conversation. Honeycomb thinks Det's just being friendly, but actually he has other plans on his mind. So Honeycomb stands back as Det and the man are having a conversation by his car. Then in the middle of the conversation, Det whips out a blicky and says, "Run me your pockets." The man is hesitant and is slowly fumbling around, and that's when Det runs out of patience. After hitting him once in the shoulder, he begins to run through his pockets. He then discovers that the man has nothing, so he and Honeycomb run their separate ways. Thankfully, the man survives after being rushed to the hospital. And while he's recovering, police show up to ask him some questions. Who did this? What do they look like? And what were they wearing? And for whatever reason, the man gives them a simple description. It was 2 young teenagers from the neighborhood, and that's all I know. Believe it or not, Honeycomb's reputation was already so bad that police instantly thought it was him. So after finding his whereabouts, they instantly decided that he was a suspect. Damn, that's cold. The next day, Honeycomb's grandparents would get a knock on the door, and here we are again. Honeycomb is arrested for first-degree robbery and assault with a deadly weapon. After being taken in for questioning, police pretty much offered him an easy way out. "We know you weren't alone when this happened, so give us up who you were with and we'll let you go." Most teenagers in this situation would start squealing like Master Splinter or singing like Alicia Keys. But Honeycomb was already tougher than nails and realer than real, so he decided to not say a word.
Investing isn't just for the elite few, it's a skill you can learn. Webull is here to enhance your investment journey. You can learn how to invest with Webull's educational resources and practice your trading skills with a paper trading simulator before investing real money. Once you're ready, you can invest with as little as $5. Even better, Webull provides real-time quotes, easy-to-use charting tools, and more than 60 indicators and technical signals, which help you to analyze the market trends and the performance of a particular stock. It's never too late to start investing. Get started with Webull.
So as a result, the teenager was facing a long time in prison for something that he didn't do. He was willing to take it on the chin to stick to the street code and to stay loyal to his day one homie. Well, fast forward a few months and it's Honeycomb's first official court appearance on March 4th, 2012. During the hearing, the prosecutors try to get him to implicate on his friend once again, but he refuses to do so. He decides to remain solid while Det is back home hoping he doesn't squeal on him. So when Det gets word that Honeycomb stayed solid, he decides to go shoot some dice to celebrate. It's 7:30 p.m. on Selmer Street in Happy Hills. Everyone is outside on the block while Det is on the porch in a dice game. During the dice game, an OG named Anthony Jenkins gets upset. He tells Det that he owes him $5 for losing and he gets in his face. Det refuses to hand over the $5 bill, and that's when Anthony gets extra heated. He whips out a blick from his waistline and makes a terrible decision. Yet another devastating loss for Honeycomb and the whole Happy Hills. Det was only 17 and lost his life to a 40-year-old over a $5 dice game. Oh, and here's the craziest part. Anthony was let out on a $2,500 bond, meaning that he posted $250 and went right back home to Happy Hills, putting not only his life but everyone else in the area's life in jeopardy as well. Man, Mobile is really something else. From questionable police activity to judges making blatantly dangerous decisions, it all just seems like a trap. For Honeycomb, he was absolutely devastated by the news of his best friend passing. He was already facing a decade in prison, so losing his best friend only added to his problems. I mean, I can't even imagine being in a jail cell for something I didn't do and then receiving this kind of news. But on the other hand, it did bring an interesting scenario to the table. Now that Det was gone, Honeycomb could potentially say that it was him who did the robbery. To many guys like Gangsta Williams, this is a no-brainer, but to Honeycomb, he would never go against the code of the streets. So instead, he took his lick and decided to go for a 4-year plea deal in Alabama prison. Although this may sound like a good deal, his time in prison was no joke. In fact, he describes horrible conditions in the facility and even says that he could only shower once every 3 days.
You took a bath every 3 days?
Yeah, every 3 days on blood. But you know, it probably been like go a day, then skip a day. But then it be so much going on, like they might hit some in the cold and get into a fight. They won't even let her take nothing, you know. They'll just handle stuff for real. Like that's what they got going on now.
So how do you keep your hygiene up? Like, do they give you deodorant, or is there certain things you got to do to keep, you know, your body right from smelling a certain way?
Water now. I used to bathe in the sink and shit. You know, I ain't tripping. I ain't fucked up about it.
Like none of that made you like go insane at all at a period of time?
Nah, I got mad a lot of times, but only reason I was getting mad, it wasn't about me being in the cell. It was about me not taking a shower. When I really wanted to take a shower, and them would be like, nah, y'all can't take nothing today, the jail on lockdown. And they be like the 3rd day.
He was willingly sustaining these horrible conditions all because he wouldn't tell on his friend. Definitely couldn't be me, but I do respect him for sticking to his code. Sadly, while he was enduring these horrible conditions, he would also lose some family members on the streets. On June 16, 2013, his cousins Tyvone and Timberly Jones would lose their life in a car accident in Happy Hills. These two are forever remembered in the neighborhood, and many people have them tatted in commemoration. But this was yet more losses for Honeycomb to deal with while sitting in a disgusting prison. But if anyone in the world could shoulder these blows, it would be Mr. Little Honeycomb Jones. Well, now we move on to December of 2015, when Little Honeycomb is finally released. When Honeycomb gets home, all he wants to do is turn his life around. The streets cause nothing but devastation in prison time, so it's definitely time for something new. So for fun, Honeycomb hops in the studio and quickly realizes that he's actually a talented rapper. He figures that this may possibly be his ticket out of the hood. On top of this, while he was in prison, some of his childhood friends were seeing success away from the streets. Firstly, his friend and Happy Hills native Jaquaski Tart was drafted by the 49ers.
In the 2015 draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Jaquaski Tart, defensive back, Sanford.
Jaquaski was giving hope to everyone he grew up with and was also giving back to the community.
Me growing up in this city, I experienced a lot growing up, and I just know with a lot of kids, I can relate to with a lot of kids.
Can you tell me what's happened in the last 200 years? This isn't real, right?
Been going through, and I just hope they get out.
But believe it or not, Jaquaski was not the only success story at the time. Another childhood friend of Honeycomb was becoming a successful rapper in California. This would be Happy Hills / Sacramento's own OMB Peasy. But Peasy wasn't the only rapper, as his childhood friends Rollo Rodriguez and No Cap were seeing success as well. Not to mention that Det's little brother Trey Baby was doing local comedy shows. The point is that the small city of Mobile was seeing a shining light, and Honeycomb knew that if they could do it, he could too. So he started dedicating himself to rapping, and it took off right away. Under the rap name Honeycomb Brazy, he was cultivating some underground buzz. Could this be the way that he finally turns his life around? Well, I don't know what you expected, but now we head to February 1st, 2016. It's a late Sunday afternoon, and Honeycomb heads to the Woodlands Apartments in the nearby suburb of Whistler. He's heading to a woman's apartment who happens to be the girlfriend of his best friend Stank. However, on this afternoon, Stank is at work and Honeycomb doesn't tell him that he's pulling up. Obviously, this is suspicious, but Honeycomb claims that he's only going over there to collect some money and possibly spark up. But here's how it actually goes. At 7 o'clock, she lets him into the apartment and they're doing whatever for over an hour. They think nothing of it, but then at 8 o'clock, they get a loud knock on the door. As it turns out, Stank gets home earlier than expected and sees Honeycomb's car in the driveway. At first he's just confused why Honeycomb is there, but then after no one responds to the door, he begins getting suspicious. So he bangs harder on the door and still nobody opens up. So now he's pissed and he uses all his force to kick the door down. Boom! He storms in the living room, and right there is Honeycomb and his girlfriend. An argument starts as Stank aggressively questions his friend as to why he's at his girlfriend's apartment. Honeycomb responds by saying that he's only there to collect money and nothing shady is going on. Stank doesn't buy it, the two start tussling, and that's when Honeycomb whips out. What in the world just happened? At this moment, time completely freezes. Stank and Honeycomb were best friends from the sandbox. How in the world could this have happened? Firstly, why was Honeycomb really at her apartment? If he was really just there to collect some money, why would Stank have reacted like that? And secondly, was Stank really that much of a threat for Honeycomb to respond with his weapon? Lots of important questions that only Honeycomb can answer.
No, my home, but yeah, my partner. I love my partner. He just tripped that day. You feel me? It ain't nothing like that. You know, if I could take it back, I'd take it back.
Obviously, he sees it as a self-defense situation, and he also states that he never messed with the girl like that.
So you ain't even hit. You were just telling her, you know what I'm saying? You were just in the house. Like,
yeah, on my grandma. Granddad ain't never f*** up. On my dead little brother Myron, never f*** up. You feel me? Really solid. It's just that how that happened.
Do you guys believe him or not? Let me know in the comments. Either way, just days after the incident, Honeycomb was arrested for second-degree murder. Typically in the South, this is considered self-defense, but when you flee the scene and fail to call 911, it is suspicious. So just months after getting out, the 22-year-old rapper was now facing life in prison. Now, the very start of a bright rap career was looking like the end of it. But Honeycomb fought the case for months trying to prove his innocence, and after a year of deliberation, the prosecution finally decided to drop the charges in favor of self-defense. This is because Stank wasn't on the lease of his girlfriend's apartment, meaning that it was considered a home invasion. So under Alabama's Stand Your Ground law, Honeycomb was completely justified in his actions. Wow, this is a cold world, and I really feel bad for Stank's family. Overall, this was a terrible situation, but what do you guys think? Was Honeycomb disloyal, and is what he did wrong? While the loss of Stank had much bigger implications than Honeycomb ever imagined. For him, he wanted to chalk it up to the streets and just leave it as an unfortunate situation. He saw Stank as a brother and truly wishes it never went down like this. But to Stank's friends and family, what Honeycomb did was completely unforgivable. Firstly, linking with his girl behind his back, and then resorting to claiming his life.
You're constantly giving away your most valuable asset. Your time, energy, and attention are the most valuable assets you have in this life. And you're constantly giving them away to your phone, social media, the world news, all constantly cluttering your mind with negativity. We need to reclaim our mind by instilling mindfulness, awareness, and a deep-seated presence. We're able to move towards wholeness and a greater sense of individuation. If this sounds like something you could benefit from, go ahead and sign below for a 30-minute free one-on-one consultation. I hope to see you there.
Welcome to BIGO, where connections come alive. Anytime, anywhere. Download BIGO now and embark on an immersive live streaming experience like never before.
BIGO, BIGO!
So while Honeycomb was in jail fighting his case, Stank's family was plotting for revenge if he ever got out. In fact, they were making everyone on the streets take a side. You're either rocking with us or you're rocking with him, but there's no in between. So when Honeycomb was released from jail, he quickly realized who was on his side and who wasn't. And what he started to realize is that a lot of people who used to be close to him were no longer on his side. Now what if I told you that it wasn't for moral reasons, like they didn't leave his side because of what he did to Stank, and instead they chose the other side for a completely different reason? It's because Stank's family is no ordinary family. In particular, Stank had an uncle by the name of Darren Southall, also known as DD, and this guy is easily the most feared man in Mobile history, so actually we'll have to dive into his story. Sorry, we'll get back to that beat in a second. Darren grew up in Happy Hills and was always known as a serious hustler in the streets, and in the 1990s he was able to turn his hustling ways into a major organization. It was known locally as Darren Southall Distribution, but it was pretty much the BMF of the South. And no, I'm not exaggerating, because it's estimated that he was sitting on $24 million cash. With this kind of money, he could pretty much call any shot he wants to in the whole southern United States. And because of this, he was extremely feared in Mobile, even to the point where he was allowed to snitch. No, seriously, listen to this. DD successfully operated under the radar until 2001 when the state government began investigating him. He had numerous mansions and supercars throughout the state, but his tax returns didn't show much income. None of it was adding up, so they decided to look into his operations, and here is what they found. They discovered his distribution and the music label he was using to launder his money. So as a result, in 2003 his entire operation was taken down and he was looking at 30+ years in prison. Everyone in Mobile thought the street legend was cooked, but DD had other plans on his mind. He decided to tell on 2 of his co-defendants and give up the music label that was laundering his money. In return, his sentence was reduced to a couple years and he was back in Mobile in no time. He's still known as one of the biggest rats in history, but for whatever reason, Mobile just didn't care. He actually went right back to the hood and rebuilt his distribution from the ground up. You might be thinking, how is this possible? But I'm trying to tell you that in the South, nobody cares that you snitched if you have money or you're feared. So after some years of rebuilding his major distribution, DD became the king of Mobile once again. According to some, a rat was running the city. I'm not exaggerating when I say that DD was like royalty in Happy Hills, as nobody would dare to go against him or ever touch him. For example, look at this picture of him and Honeycomb back in the day. They used to be locked in, but after he claimed the life of his nephew Stank, DD wanted all the smoke. He didn't want to hear any excuses and he was not willing to negotiate. And because he had all of the money and power, most of Mobile decided to take his side. Oh, and not to mention that there was allegedly a 7-figure bounty on Honeycomb's head. This obviously put Honeycomb at a major disadvantage, especially because he never knew who was willing to cross him. Like if any of Honeycomb's friends wanted to collect DD's bag, it was pretty much over for him. So in order to protect himself, he was forced to draw serious lines in the sand. You're either rocking with me or going over there, but I cannot have snakes in my circle. Because of this, he now had to be very careful who he was hanging with and where he was going. And to keep things organized, all of his homies took the name RN4L, and I'm sure you can figure out what that means. Anyone claiming RN4L was willing to protect and die for Honeycomb, even though they were up against Thanos. So DD Southall versus Honeycomb Brazy was the new major beef in Mobile. Things were about to get crazy, and it was all dependent on Honeycomb coming home. Well, it's November of 2017, and Honeycomb officially beats his case and returns to Mobile. He knows he's up against a powerful boss, but he's way too prideful to leave his city. So he goes back to Mobile to pursue his rap career, but quickly things would get spicy. Just days after being released, Honeycomb is shot 8 times, including once in the head. His friends rush him to the hospital, and the doctors don't believe he'll make it. But after a successful surgery, he's placed into a coma where he stays for 9 days. During this period, the doctors tell his family that he will wake up, but he'll never walk again. But miraculously, after waking up from a coma, his legs work just fine. Like I told you guys, Honeycomb is the type of dude who can survive any battle.
And I ended up getting that first week and get hit up. So, you know, I was in the coma and shit, but I had shook that shit though.
However, after this incident is when he woke up and realized that his ops are not playing. In fact, this is when he receives word that there's over $1 million on his head. To all of us at home, this would terrify us, but Honeycomb talks about it like it's nothing.
Man, so when you speak on having money on your head, can you speak on like, what goes through your mind? Do you lose sleep over that?
Hell no, I wouldn't dream. Wow, Martin Luther King, I wouldn't dream.
Not only is he not worried about his ops, he also decides to troll them online.
I don't really like that, man. I'm Big Stepper, bro. On soul, I'm Big Stepper, man. On gang, they know that. That's why they trying to kill me. Because they know what's going on with me. That's why they trying to kill me, man. On blood, they know, but Bray's a real stepper. We got to get him before he get us. He killed our brother already. He beat the murder charge. You need to get walked down. That's just what it is, man.
Obviously, Honeycomb was ducking no smoke, but as his career progressed, it only made sense to elevate. And thankfully, his first opportunity to leave would come quickly. After a couple of his songs went viral, Honeycomb was hit up by a major boss in Atlanta. This would be a man known as Rollo Famgoon, one of the biggest hustlers in history. Rollo saw potential in his rap career and wanted to get him off to Atlanta. So immediately, Brazy hopped on I-65 to head for the big city. There, he spent his days and nights in a professional studio recording banger after banger. In the process, he started to get tens of millions of views and noticed by a nationwide audience. But more importantly, he was out of Alabama and he was rolling with a boss even bigger than Didi. This was honestly a match made in heaven, and Brazy was on his way up. But then out of nowhere, everything would come crashing down.
Tonight, a major raid on a Southwest Atlanta home, and we now know that house belongs to an Atlanta rapper named Rollo.
Rollo's team tells me he's being targeted and is sitting in jail wrongfully accused. But a federal criminal complaint lays out how investigators allegedly connected Rollo to the operation. Before we dig any deeper into this, let's tell you who 23-year-old Terrell Davis, aka Rollo, is, if you're not familiar with Atlanta's hip-hop scene. The artist has a huge social media presence and following, with more than 200,000 monthly listeners on Spotify and song collaborations with T.I., 2 Chainz, Future, Gucci Mane, and so many others. And now, criminal complaint alleges the rapper, who's called this apartment complex in Atlanta home, a complex just raided yesterday, is the leader of a gang referred to as Famerica, a name Rollo regularly uses to refer to his music team. But according to the complaint, the investigation dates back to December, when investigators stopped 3 vans leaving Fulton County Airport. Inside one, they allegedly found 520 pounds of worth about $1 million on the street. Rollo wasn't inside the van, but 3 people arrested were allegedly connected to him, according to investigators.
Now I know what you're thinking. Is this how Honeycomb went out? No, thankfully he was not included in the investigation or the indictment. However, Rollo's takedown was still bad news for Honeycomb. Now that hanging in Atlanta was too hot, he needed to go somewhere else. Sadly, he would go right back to the Honeycomb, no pun intended. Right back to the city where his ops want to hurt him and police hate him too. So as you would expect, his return to Mobile would not go so well. Sadly, right after returning to Mobile, he caught a serious gun charge. A good old felon in possession of a weapon, which in the feds holds an average of a 3-year sentence. However, this was a state case and the judge decided to give him 15 years in prison. Yes, you heard that correctly. 15 years in prison for Honeycomb Brazy. Right as his career was progressing, it was looking like it was pretty much over. For whatever reason, the Alabama judge wanted to completely wash him away. So sadly, Honeycomb was off to prison for a long time. I cannot imagine how down and depressed he was after receiving the news. Oh, and it even gets worse. Honeycomb was placed in a prison cell with his own father.
Y'all shared the same cell?
Yeah, we slept in the same cell, Magic Count at West Jail.
How does that work? Like, did y'all make it like that, or did it just...
No, they just put me in the cell with them. So when I got out of lockup, they put me right in the cell with my daddy. So I went in there with them, you know, we banging.
Yo, this is insane. So I can only imagine the conversations y'all just having in there, just talking.
Yeah, we would have real conversations. Like, I got money on my head.
Imagine sitting in a cell with your dad and telling him that there's money on your head.
You can't let them do me like that while I'm doing life. So I was like, hell yeah, man, you know, I got your pop with the whoop.
And to make matters worse, Honeycomb would lose yet another friend while sitting in a cell. October 21st, 2020, 8:40 a.m. A local comedian named Trey Baby is sitting in his parents' living room. That's when he hears a loud thud and a man comes running inside. The man finds him in the living room and makes a terrible decision. Trey was a day one friend of Honeycomb and a family member of Det, but more importantly, he was an aspiring comedian who brought joy to anyone he came across.
Everybody really just shocked. Everybody hurt, like, deeply. Like, y'all really took somebody that wouldn't harm a fly.
Thomas was well on his way as a comedian known as Trey Baby. His family said he traveled a lot to neighboring cities doing stand-up comedy shows and filming content for his YouTube channel. A young man chasing his dreams to fill many hearts with laughter.
We're just lost and we're confused on what happened. We don't know if it was just envy, if it was hate, or whatever the case may be.
This is why the incident is so puzzling. Trey was never in the streets and definitely never had beef with anyone, so the deliberate targeting had people wondering who was really behind this. And one of these people was Honeycomb, who made a dedication post on Facebook. He said that if he finds out who did this, yeah, you know the rest. Yet another loss while Honeycomb is sitting in a 6x9 cell. Obviously this is devastating, but on the bright side, he would receive some positive news. His lawyers appealed his sentence and a new judge granted him parole after 18 months. Man, thankfully his career was back in his hands after it almost slipped away. But interestingly enough, Honeycomb was really not that happy to leave.
Okay.
Yeah, but I left out the cell with him though. I ain't really want to leave that. I already do another year with him for real. On everything, I ain't even lying.
Either way, the bottom line is that Honeycomb was given a second chance at life, but it really wasn't that simple. His parole requirements were extremely strict and pretty much set up for him to fail. Firstly, he wasn't allowed to leave the state of Alabama for 15 years, which obviously puts him in danger. But on top of this, he wasn't allowed to be around any felons or in the proximity of any weapons. So in my opinion, the state was pretty much setting him up to be victimized. And the craziest part is that technically, if he ever violates these rules, he's sent back to prison for 15 years. So Honeycomb had a big dilemma on his hands. I'm either risking my freedom or I'm risking my life. It was only a matter of time before things go wrong one way or the other. And that takes us to November 10th, 2020. To get out of Mobile, Honeycomb and his boys head up I-65 to the city of Montgomery. Montgomery and Mobile are about 2.5 hours away, so it's an easy way to escape the beef. Now this would be the case in most rivalries, but things are different when you have $1 million on your head. Well, once they get to Montgomery, they head to the mall so Honeycomb can buy a new jersey. The Lakers jersey he bought in Mobile is too small, so he goes to the mall to get a new one. And once he gets the jersey, they all head to the barbershop to get fresh. This is when he makes a boneheaded decision. At 3 p.m., Honeycomb decides to go on Facebook Live outside of the barbershop. He shows his location and says he wants to give away his Lakers jersey.
Yeah, man, I bought a jersey. That bitch was too big. I bought a jersey that was too big.
I autographed Honeycomb Kobe Bryant jersey to the really size.
Yeah, man, it was too big, so I had to buy another one. I had to buy another one, man.
He stays on live for over an hour thinking nothing of it, but that's when things get hectic. Out of nowhere, shots start flying at his car. Bang! His friends instantly get up and start chasing the perpetrators down the street, and because of this, they instantly hop back in their car and speed away. Once they turn the corner, Honeycomb's friends run back to the car to check on him. They notice that he's hit, but he refuses to let them take him to the hospital. So instead, they go to a family member's house in Montgomery and they bandage him up. Thankfully, he makes it just fine, but it does bring us back to an important question. Had his friends taken him back to the hospital, he could have been arrested for being around weapons. I'm assuming that this is what he was thinking, but his next actions are kind of puzzling. Directly after all of this unfolded, he decided to go right back onto Facebook Live and explain everything that happened. As if his parole officer or the police can't watch this. Oh, and not to mention that the guys who just did this can see where he is.
None of y'all get hit. Oh, they not the back one that? That what you wore? The coat part deal with. I'm on this side. You want to keep it in front? Yeah, we supposed to be dead. We supposed to be dead, home. Like, I don't respect that. Yeah. Yo, my dog, well, y'all know what's up, man. Hey, how you doing?
We still handsome.
How you doing?
We still handsome,
Even the people that are watching are trying to tell him that being on live is the dumbest thing to do.
Y'all talking about me on live, I can do what I want to do. This my live, y'all ain't got to be on that hoe watching me. We ain't running.
Stepping.
Ain't no running going on.
Obviously, going on live was the dumbest thing for Honeycomb to do, and it would bite him in the butt eventually. But to make matters worse, right after getting off live, he would make a Facebook post taunting the guys who did this. In the post, he even alludes to the idea that they were paid to do this. Man, I know I said that AR Ab was the dumbest criminal, but Honeycomb is making me rethink that. Yet another close call for Honeycomb, but thankfully after this, more good things would happen to his career. The crazy incident went viral online and Sean Cotton got wind of it, so he invited him for an interview on Say Cheese, and Honeycomb would tell his entire life story. He shocked the world with his crazy stories and even went into detail about the shooting in Montgomery. His story was so intriguing that thousands of people decided to listen to his music. So as a result, his numbers went through the roof and he was contacted by a major label. This would be Houston's Rap-A-Lot Records, who were interested in signing him for millions of dollars. So they flew him to Houston and Honeycomb loved what he saw. And just like that, Honeycomb Brazy would be the next star on Rap-A-Lot Records. Things were on the up and up and his career was about to take off to the next level. But in his roller coaster of a life, tragedy would of course strike. On December 1st, 2020, his friend Tykia Daniels would be targeted while pumping gas in Fairfield, Alabama. Whether or not this is connected to Honeycomb's beef, it shows that living in this state is absolutely crazy. Alabama is truly a wicked state and Honeycomb really needed to leave. So this is when prosecutors say he made the bold decision to move to Houston. This way he was able to record with his label and of course be away from his beef. But as you remember, this is a serious violation of his parole and can send him right back to prison. Either way, Honeycomb decided to be judged by 12 rather than carried by 6. So in the meantime, he remained low-key and recorded his bangers. But even though he and his homies left Alabama, the beef was not done for DD. He knew that he couldn't reach Honeycomb under the protection of Jay Prince, but he still wanted revenge for his nephew Stank. So instead, he decided to orchestrate one of the worst catastrophes in Mobile history. This is where things get really heavy. February 17th, 2021. It's a regular Wednesday evening in Happy Hills, and Honeycomb's grandparents are in their living room watching TV. That's when they hear a loud thump on the door. So his grandmother goes to the back of the house while the grandfather walks up to the door. Boom. That's when 3 men kick the door down and run inside. They then make a horrible decision. The men flee the scene, but that's only the beginning of it. Somehow the home explodes and catches on fire. The tragic incident puzzled investigators as they couldn't figure out what caused the fire. However, the ADA believes that the perpetrators exploded an oxygen tank which led to an explosion. Due to its nature, it was obviously a high-profile case, but then it got even more complicated. They discovered that it was Honeycomb Brazy's grandparents, which went viral across the country.
We have learned that the two are the grandparents of a local well-known rapper. WKRG News 5's Nicolette Schleisman is live in the Happy Hills neighborhood tonight to tell us the very latest information.
No word from police about what happened or why the fire started or how it started. And also Mobile police are confirming that they are investigating this as a homicide. Now we've also learned that again they were the grandparents of local rapper Honeycomb Brazy. He posted to Instagram a tribute to the two, saying he hates they caught got caught up in his business. The family says the two were the head of their family and took care of everyone. And witnesses tell us that they heard a boom and what sounded like shots around the time of the fire. This all happened around 6:30 last night on Dr. Thomas Avenue.
They took everything. My mama, my daddy, the head. They was the head and the tail, the roots. They took everything from us. Everything. We would never be the same. It's wrong. They ain't deserve it.
And now the family is begging anyone with any sort of information to contact Mobile Police. Reporting live in North Mobile, Nicolette Schleisman, WKRG News 5.
Out of everything, this would be the worst loss that Honeycomb ever had to endure. His grandparents didn't deserve this in a million years, and those who did this are completely ruthless. But as much as this hurt him, he wouldn't dare retaliate in the same manner.
Honeycomb Brazy has posted to Instagram about their deaths, posting today in part, quote, "It's expletive how they did my people, but I'll never do nothing to no old people or kids to get back. It just ain't me."
But the craziest part is that Honeycomb had intuition that this could possibly happen. In fact, he begged his grandparents over and over to move out of Mobile, but they didn't want to do so. Well, this horrible incident would not be solved for over a year, and in the meantime, Honeycomb's rivals were not done. On June 3rd, 2021, his mother's house was targeted in the middle of the night. Thankfully, though, she wasn't there when this occurred.
A crime alert tonight. Terrifying moments for people on Clark Street in Mobile as they wake up to gunfire in the middle of the night.
NBC 15's Andrea Ramey obtained the surveillance footage there that captured the sound of those shots. Andrea, you've learned this shooting may be connected to Mobile rapper Honeycomb Brazy.
In this surveillance footage NBC 15 News obtained, you hear 5 shots fired on Clark Street at 2 in the morning.
They came back.
They keep shooting up your home.
And I don't even live here because I had to leave because of that, but them fresh bullets.
Tanisha Jones believes her home was the target. She wasn't home when the shots were fired, but had been at the home yesterday and believes people saw her there.
They shot it up again. I can tell. I came here yesterday.
And those weren't there yesterday?
Not this glass, none of that.
A family 3 doors down woke when 2 bullets came into their home overnight. They declined to talk on camera. Jones says this isn't the first time her home's been shot. And how many times do you think your home has been shot at?
For sure, I know it's 3, but now I know it's 4 times.
Why do they keep targeting you?
I don't. Because they want my son, Nashawn Jones, dead.
Her son, Nashawn Jones, a local rapper, is also known as Honeycomb Brazy. Tanisha's heart may be broken and her home riddled with bullets. She's living now only on the hope the shooting stop before she loses another loved one.
I'm kind of like shaky, I'm kind of like nervous, I'm kind of like upset, and I lost everything.
At this point, I don't even know what to say. I've literally never seen anything like this. Like, out of all my videos, I don't think any of them compare to the severity of this one. And sadly, right after this, Honeycomb would go through yet another obstacle. After discovering numerous of his Facebook lives, he was taken in for violating parole.
Brazy back in jail. Brazy's criminal history in Mobile dates all the way back to 2010. You may remember in February, his grandparents, Leila and Tony Lewis, were found dead after a house fire. Brazy admitted his lifestyle played a role in that.
Prosecutors say Jones posted video of the incident on social media. During Jones' probation hearing, the DA's office also showed 15 videos of Jones with drugs or guns. The defense argued those were stage props for music videos. Jones, who was on probation for being a felon in possession of a gun, had served 18 months of a 15-year sentence. A judge revoked his probation and sent him back to prison to serve the rest of his 15-year sentence. The 26-year-old has been booked into Metro 12 times since 2010, when he was just 15 years old.
This dude just can't catch a break. He's up against a multi-million-dollar rat and a system who hates him. So as a result, Rap-A-Lot Records lost their biggest investment in his prime. So with Honeycomb locked up for the foreseeable future, what's next in this story? In August of 2021, the Darren Southall distribution was finally taken down. Didi was hit with 21 felonies, including laundering millions and millions of dollars. However, out of these 21 charges, 0 of them included targeting Honeycomb Brazy or his family. All of it simply involved moving weight and laundering money. Regardless though, he was still facing 40 years, which we know he didn't want to do any of them. So you might be thinking, oh, he snitched again, but this time it wasn't an option. He was the FBI's #1 target and they weren't going for any plea deals. So as you would expect, Didi came up with a plan B. Somehow he was able to pay the guards to let him escape the jail.
What? Breaking now at 5, a reputed drug kingpin accused of escaping from the Clark County Jail scheduled to plead guilty today, but he backed out. A trial on that federal escape charge will now be set for Darren South.
When you find a deal on your favorite thing in the McDonald's app and order it, does that technically count as online shopping? Save money with the app. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's, prices may vary.
So on top of the 40 years, he was now facing more for a federal escape. Well, over the next month, Didi and the feds agreed to a 35-year sentence.
It's a great day in the city of Mobile to be able to have someone of this magnitude taking off the streets and taking out of the drug trade.
Southall has a long criminal history dating back to the 1990s. Federal prosecutors labeled him a ringleader in a multi-state, multi-million-dollar drug organization since at least 2016. And he admits he took in about $24 million during the time of his operation. According to court documents, Southall did some of his business in Mobile, Mississippi, and Texas.
So Didi was finally gone for life, and believe it or not, from here it would only get worse for him. On the day of his sentencing, he was arrested for the loss of Honeycomb's grandparents. Prosecutors say that he paid 3 people to orchestrate the hit.
Now, one of the men that's charged now with this murder is Darren Southall, who was sentenced today to 35 years in prison after admitting to running a large-scale drug operation along the Gulf Coast. The other 2, Jamarcus Chambers and Terrence Watkins, already in custody, and police looking for a 4th man who they are not naming right now. All 3 alleged accomplices charged with the February 2021 murder of Tony and Leila Lewis.
This was a huge takedown, and believe me or not, it actually curbed the violence in the city of Mobile. Didi no longer had a bag to put on anyone's head, and Brazy was serving the rest of his 15 years. So is this finally the end of the story? Nope, not quite, but in the meantime we focus on Rap-A-Lot Records. In July of 2022, Memphis rapper Finesse 2 Times was released from prison and signed with Jay Prince. Right off the bat, his songs blew up with 40 to 100 million views, and he was looking like Rap-A-Lot's next star. His success also carried into 2023, and he's now a staple in the rap game, bringing Rap-A-Lot back to prominence. You could say that he took Honeycomb's spot, who by now was an afterthought due to his 15-year sentence. So from 2021 to 2023, Honeycomb felt abandoned and forgot about by his label. But then out of nowhere, the unexpected would occur. On November 14th, 2023, Honeycomb Brazy is released from prison.
Yeah, fresh out, withdrawal and everything. You know Brazy, you know it. Yeah. Boy, I'm finna lose my mind. Hey, like, y'all don't even understand. Y'all don't even understand what the ball here. Oh my God. I'm really on that. Straight Alabama shit out the game. I'm just saying, so y'all really think I had 15 years? That's what I want to know now. Y'all really think I had 15 years?
He's given yet another chance at his career, and he's back in the game like EA. This time he takes full advantage of his freedom and drops back-to-back-to-back bangers. Each song was easily hitting over 1 million first day, and he was on the top of YouTube trending. Yeah, Honeycomb is back, and this time he's gonna do it right.
Yeah, I'm still a real. I'm chilling now. I'm chilling. I don't want to smoke with nobody. I'm finna run over a whole bunch of millions. I'm trying to touch $1 billion before I turn 40. This is my goal. I'm trying to turn $1 billion before I turn 40. I got 13 more years to put it, and I'm on it. You hear me? Everything else, I ain't standing no nigga. Man, I'm really real. I'm really solid. I really ain't no rat. Really ain't never fold.
He's gonna focus on his music, he's not gonna violate his parole, and he's not gonna move recklessly in Mobile. But actually, what would this video be if it weren't for more drama? Here we go again, but this time Honeycomb is kind of justified. Despite his success, Honeycomb was furious at his label and Finesse 2 times. He felt betrayed by both of them, feeling abandoned once he received his 15-year sentence. Of course, business is business, but Honeycomb felt like he did so much for Rap-A-Lot that he deserved more loyalty. And for Finesse 2 times, he says that he held him down when he was in prison, giving him money and hooked him up with J Prince. So it's basically like I did so much for Rap-A-Lot and Finesse 2 times, and then they abandoned me when things got tough. So after being released from prison, Honeycomb would go on live and speak his mind.
Like y'all want me to just say, he ain't did nothing. Man, I really hold this nigga down, man, and pick this nigga in position. You see what I'm saying? And Junior know what's up. I do this shit from the dead. Who Junior had over there? What Mild Town was talking about before Brazen popped out? Y'all let me know what Mild Town was talking about before Brazen hit the scene and turned that shit up. Like, who was Mild Town? Who? Long Live Marlo, you feel me? Long Live Holmes. Well, who was talking about something over there? No damn body. Brazen crunk that shit all the way up, man. You see what I'm saying? Then I picked this Finesse over there. When I got locked up, nigga, I kept it all the way trill with that boy. He know what's up. This shit, you know, a lot of street shit can't talk about. But man, come on. Pick that over there. This is on my grandma's grave. Nigga dead and gone. This on Lila Friends and Firehead. I picked that work in for him. He was spooked. He ain't know what to do.
He then gives Rap-A-Lot an ultimatum. I'm on your head unless you give me some bread.
See what I'm saying? Y'all nigga, you gotta give me my bread. You gotta give me my bread. I'm on some business, man. You gotta give me some bread, bro. Like, then I ain't on that. I'm on that. Like, y'all don't even want to see me crank up yet, cause y'all had to kill me. You see what I'm saying? Y'all had to Tupac me on that. Y'all had to Tupac Brazen. You know what I'm saying? That would be going on. You had to Tupac me, man. I ain't lying. I ain't even lying. When you Tupac me, that ain't gonna be the end of it. I'm like that in real life.
So now it's officially beef between Honeycomb and Finesse and Rap-A-Lot. And for whatever reason, Honeycomb continues to go in.
You like that on stupid moves. You not like that in the streets. Like, I never saw you with the none of that. None of that. You ain't nothing, boy. Get out of there, man. Yeah, for real. Y'all know I attack. I'm hammerhead sharp. I'm hammerhead brazen, man. I'm big. I'm hammerhead brazen on everything. All I know is attack. Playing with no period. There ain't no sneak this and ain't nothing coming direct. Let you know I'm talking about your. You know what I'm saying? I'm on your ass. I'm on Big Nader. I love this shit. Real, y'all tripping. Y'all man, I'm a one-man army, baby. I'm pulling up by myself when I catch you boy like that. Like, yeah, we can tear down, up, all them with all them real pressure. I ain't mad at Ness. I just be janking, bro. Bro, I really be having fun with Finesse on my mama. Like, dude, the character to me. So he showed what type of he was, bro, a real rapper. Like, dude, a real actor. You know, he a real rapper. Like, he ain't dead. He a real rapper. So I don't even take him serious no more. I swear on my mama I don't, bro. Real actor. I swear. Man, you know you ain't like that. No, I ain't mob-tied. Ain't nothing about me mob-tied, period. I'm not mob-tied. Ain't nothing that's here.
He even calls him a rat, but then later apologizes when he realizes that the paperwork is solid. Honeycomb shows that even when he's dealing with his worst enemies, he still holds the truth over anything else. Now this all may seem like internet shenanigans, but Honeycomb says that his young dude from Mississippi slapped J Prince Jr. across the face.
I put this on J Prince. I put this shit on Senior. My little nigga from Mississippi smacked up Junior.
If you know anything about the Prince family, you know that going against them is never a smart move. They have endless pockets and they're extremely tactical. But as we know, Honeycomb isn't scared to go against anyone. Well, now we focus back on Honeycomb, his life and his career. Remember that Brazy can't be around felons, weapons, and can't leave the state of Alabama, or else he'll be sent back to prison for 15 years. Now, he may be a certified crash out, but this time he learned his lesson. He stopped showing weapons online, he stopped leaving the state, and for riding around with felons, well, here's where things get interesting. Being a major target in his state, Honeycomb knows that rolling around with no protections is a life risk. But this time, instead of having his goons with him, he decides to hire professional security. To do this, he allegedly hits up Rap-A-Lot to send private security guards to Mobile. And despite their rocky relationship, his label decides to send 2 his way. So the 2 guards now roll with him to protect him every day. And that takes us to December 18th, 2023. Honeycomb is heading home from Montgomery on I-65. While passing through the town of Criolla, they hear sirens behind them. So they pull over and Honeycomb thinks nothing of it. I don't have a weapon on me and the people with me are private security guards. Well, because Honeycomb is on parole, the officers are allowed to automatically search the car. So everyone is removed from the vehicle and the officers go to searching. After just a few seconds, they discover 2 firearms under the seats. Still though, Honeycomb thinks nothing of it as private security guards are allowed to have weapons. But here's the problem. The guys that Rap-A-Lot sent him are not actual security guards. In fact, one of them is a convicted felon and the other is banned from owning weapons. Man, what? So because of this, Honeycomb and the 2 fake security guards are all arrested for federal gun charges. Not only did Honeycomb unknowingly violate his parole, but he's also facing new felony charges. So here we are again with Honeycomb looking at a long time in prison. But this also begs an important question. Did Rap-A-Lot Records set him up? If they did, then that's some cold business, but personally, I don't think so. This is because financially they're incentivized for him to be free, like when he makes more music, they make more money. But on the other hand, after his arrest, something disrespectful and very suspicious would happen. Finesse 2 Times would come out of the woodworks and celebrate Honeycomb's arrest.
Hey, bro got a bun. Hey, bro got a bun, man. What's bro bun, bro? Hey, if he ain't got no bun, bro, hey, I'm gonna send my lawyer your way, bro. I want you to touch back down, bro, so we can have some fun. Hey, look, don't start calling my phone now. Long as I was quiet, trying to be humble about and trying to be mature about. Nah, they kept trolling. Nah, they kept, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm on it. That's what it is. Like, you don't recognize real, then I'm back on some bullshit. Like, don't start calling my phone now. Don't call my phone. I ain't no net. I ain't nah. Long as I was trying to be quiet, trying to be cool about it, I leave it alone. Nah, it's over with. Yeah, it's dead. Yeah. Something out. However you feel, that's what it is. From now on, any feel like Finesse 2 Times said it. Oh, any bad got me. Owe me some money. Yeah, it's up.
Oh, now you want to speak up and act tough? Okay, that was pretty much everyone's reaction in the comments. But what do you guys think? Is Honeycomb justified to feel betrayed, or is business just business? Well, aside from the drama, Honeycomb's career and freedom are actually in serious jeopardy. He's technically eligible for parole in the fall of 2024, but who knows if that'll happen. Hopefully things work out for him because he's truly talented and definitely been through a lot. Well, on that note, that's going to do it for this episode of Swamp Stories. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. You can also hit me up on Instagram because I'm looking for an editor, so please do that.
When you prefer a dream vacation over a rental nightmare? Cause sometimes it matters where you stay. Hilton, the fourth stay.
Die Art und Weise der Kommunikation, oft wieder miteinander umgehen, ist, was mir sehr wichtig ist in der Zusammenarbeit.
Vertrauen und Ehrlichkeit ist einer unserer sogenannten Bold Goals. Da passt es natürlich, dass man Lieferanten aussucht, die die gleichen Standards und Werte schätzen.
Ci sono stati rapporti di collaborazione, di fiducia e di affidabilità, penso che ritengo che questa sia una grande partnership.
Il y a longtemps qu'on travaille avec IFM, donc la confiance s'est construite sur de longues années.
They genuinely care about our business. They realize that our business is what makes their business strong. So they care about us, they care about our customers. They genuinely are trying to help us when we need it.
Tiene muchas aplicaciones en nuestras maquinaria y equipos.
Nos da un producto de muy buena calidad, nos da un excelente servicio a un muy buen costo.
Seja um fornecedor que seja parceiro, que forneça qualidade.
A solução da IFM nos trouxe paz de espírito e não...
I like the IFM sensors because they just work. They're just perfect.
I know that
I'm not wasting my time. The IFM ones, plug in and go.
我是获得成功是一件顺理成章的事情。
真的，因为最近真的是下步。
IFM is a good fit because they are able to provide the best of their knowledge in their product.
둘 다라고 봐야 될 것 같은데 내가 필요할 때 옆에 있어줘서 같이 처음 일을 시작을 할 수 있습니다.
They are very close to us as the slogan itself states IFM close to you.
Jag tror att det är som en familj.
Vi är mycket nöjda med hur det fungerar just nu.